Chapter 2244. After entering Yuan Tiangong, Di Yuan had only challenged the 10,000 spell tower once. Moreover, he reached the height of level 45 on his first try, making all the geniuses look up to him. Originally, he did not plan on challenging the 10,000 spell tower again. To him, the 10,000 spell tower had already lost its challenge. However, this time, Su Fong surpassed him by a large margin in one move. He could no longer sit still and erupted with astonishing strength at this time. Starting from level 45, Di Yuan was like a hot knife through butter, unstoppable all the way. His speed of challenging the tower was actually much faster than Su Fong's. Just as Su Fong challenged level 66, Di Yuan chased after him with all his might. Practically the moment Su Fong left level 66, Di Yuan arrived right behind him. Then, in the 10 days that Su Fong recovered, Di Yuan easily killed the trial takers and completed level 66's test. Moreover, he did not recover and directly entered level 67. The target of the trial on level 67 was not a territorial lord, but a lord. Di Yuan fought fiercely on this level for as long as a month. In the end, he also used some kind of supreme magical power and killed the lord-level trial target. However, Di Yuan did not continue to challenge, but left the 10,000 spell tower instead. As the imperial people had supreme magical powers to conceal their cultivation level, many geniuses were not clear about Di Yuan's current cultivation level. However, those lord-level powerhouses could tell that Di Yuan's cultivation level had already reached the astonishing height of 7th firmament Dao integration. Every small step in the Dao integration realm was a world of difference in strength. Surpassing 9th firmament Dao integration, the gap between Lord level and Dao integration was even greater, almost impossible to bridge. Di Yuan could actually kill a Lord level opponent and pass level 67 of the 10,000 spell tower with his cultivation level of 7th firmament Dao integration. It was clear how powerful his strength was. Not only were the Yuan Tiangong geniuses shocked, but those lord-level powerhouses also looked at Di Yuan with eyes full of shock and reverence. Under the gazes of many people, Di Yuan sat cross-legged in the air and swallowed medicinal pills to recover his energy. Clearly, level 67 of the 10,000 spell tower had consumed a lot of energy and had already reached his limit. Di Yuan paid attention to Su Fong in the 10,000 spell tower as he recovered. The corners of his lips curled into a faint smile. QL11 at this moment, Su Fong had already entered the 67th level and was engaged in a world-shaking battle with a gray-robed old man. Inside the artifact hall, many artifact forging geniuses had already completed their artifact forging. Divine artifacts flew out of the cauldrons one after another. The treasure refinement genius ignited his true fire and took out the spirit water he had prepared beforehand. With a whoosh, he splashed the spirit water onto the divine weapon that was still burning. Streams of great pregnant purple chi that were invisible to the naked eye soared into the sky, followed by white smoke from the evaporation of the spirit water and the resplendent radiance of the divine artifact. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The divine artifact that had just been born let out a series of crisp or vigorous buzzing sounds. The higher the quality of a divine artifact, the louder the sound it made, and the more domineering the aura it emitted, suppressing other divine artifacts. Not bad at all. There are quite a few great talents in the selection of the weapon hall. Who is that person? He actually refined a peak high-grade divine artifact. In any great world, or even stellar region, this person could be called a grandmaster. First place in this election meet will definitely belong to him. That might not be the case. There are still many artifact forging geniuses that have yet to complete their artifact forging. It's not certain who will obtain the artifact forging geniuses. The weapon hall's artifact forging masters nodded as they commented on the divine artifacts refined by the artifact forging geniuses. So much pregnant purple chi. Su Fong used the divine might of the purple chi Dharma spirit to see the weak streams of pregnant purple chi that were produced when the divine artifacts were born. Before they could escape into the world, They flew towards Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord indeed has a purple Chi Dharma spirit. Su Fang's avatar's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and decisiveness. He conjured the purple Chi Dharma spirit, causing a portion of the pregnant purple Chi to change direction and be absorbed into his body. This was not to snatch the pregnant purple Chi, but a provocation. That's right, this was a provocation. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord looked at Su Fang as heavenly fire surged in his eyes, conjuring a terrifying illusion of burning everything in all directions. A futile attempt to snatch my purple Chi Dharma spirit. Su Fang snorted inexplicably as a sharp aura surged in his heart. Then he extended his hand towards the cauldron and grabbed a flying sword that was burning with sparks. Following that, he waved his hand to conjure spirit water that landed on the flying sword. With a Chi sound, a pregnant purple Chi that was richer than any other divine artifact refined by the other artifact forging geniuses was absorbed by Su Fang's purple Chi Dharma spirit before it could enter the world. As the white smoke and light dissipated, a flying sword with a faint purple Chi appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It's only a superior grade divine artifact. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord snorted as he revealed a look of disdain. Su Fang was indeed extraordinary to be able to refine a superior grade divine artifact with his avatar. However, in the artifact forging meat that was filled with talents, an ordinary superior grade divine artifact, especially an ordinary flying sword, would not even rank in the top 10. Mo Tiangong also revealed a look of surprise. Clearly, the superior grade divine artifact that Su Fang had refined was far below his expectations. Who knew Wang? The flying sword suddenly emitted a clear and sonorous hum as a domineering aura swept out from the sword. In an instant, the massive interior of the divine artifact immediately fell silent. All the Dharma treasures that had been refined began to tremble uncontrollably, including the superior grade peak divine artifacts. It felt like a king had arrived, and all the people had submitted to him. Immediately following that, muffled sounds came from the cauldrons. It was the divine artifacts that had yet to be born. The array formations and heaven and earth Tao palaces within the cauldrons were collapsing. Su Fang used the 9-yang divine fire, illusory fire cloud, and the world's yin-yang forces, together with the purple Chi Dharma spirit and the flying sword that had been infused with the yin-yang transformation seal. He was extremely domineering. The moment his sword appeared, all divine artifacts submitted to him. The artifact hall's refinement masters on the platform all stood up as they looked at the flying sword floating in front of Su Fang in disbelief. Many artifact refinement geniuses also looked at Su Fang. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. The geniuses who had failed due to Su Fang's flying sword even forgot their heartache. They stared intently at Su Fang's flying sword as though they were looking at a creation divine artifact. Mo Tiangong roared with laughter. There's no need for us to rank him. The number 1 artifact refinement genius is none other than Su Fang. Such an extraordinary flying sword. Although it's only superior grade, it's comparable to a supreme grade divine artifact. It's even close to a peak supreme grade divine artifact. Furthermore, Su Fang used his avatar to refine the divine artifact. Such talent in artifact refinement is something I was inferior to back then. Lord Heavenly Fire, even you were far inferior to him when you were his age. The fire god Zhu clan's refinement master exclaimed in admiration. His words came from the bottom of his heart, but when they landed in Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's ears, they were extremely grating. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord snorted coldly. It's only a superior grade divine artifact, after all. What qualifications does he have to be called the number 1 artifact refinement genius? Mo Tiangong asked perplexed. Su Fang's divine artifact has overwhelmed everyone. If he is a number 1, who would dare claim to be number 1? Lord Heavenly Fire, you have been biased against Su Fang from the beginning. Could it be that he has offended you in the past? What qualifications does a low-level existence have to offend me? Heavenly Fire Divine Lord sneered domineeringly as he scoffed at Su Fong. The Zhu clan's refinement master said in a deep voice, "If Su Fong does not obtain first place, I'll be the first to disagree." Some of the other artifact refinement masters supported Mo Tiangong and the Zhu clan's refinement master, but most of them remained silent. Everyone present was a top artifact refinement master from the various worlds. It would be laughable if they could not even determine the quality of a Dharma treasure. Su Fong's flying sword was clearly better than everyone else's, but since Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was so insistent, no one could say a word. At that moment, a genius suddenly shouted, "Su Fong, if your Dharma treasure can beat mine, I'll admit that you are number one." This person was the first genius to refine a superior-grade divine artifact. Furthermore, he had refined a cauldron that was extremely difficult to refine. He originally believed that the number one spot in the artifact refining meat would be his, but who knew that he would be suppressed by a superior-grade flying sword. Furthermore, the artifact refinement masters of the artifact hall were prepared to award Su Fong as number one. He was naturally unconvinced. Without waiting for Su Fong to answer, the artifact refinement genius swept out a black cauldron that whistled toward Su Fong. Rumble. Boom. Boom. Terrifying thunder rumbled from the cauldron as bolts of lightning flashed out. They rapidly condensed into a lightning ball the size of a wash basin. A terrifying might that could destroy nature enveloped Su Fong. It was no wonder the genius was so confident. He had refined a superior-grade divine artifact that could release lightning Dharma. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely be number one at the artifact hall selection meet. The artifact refinement genius shouted coldly, "The cauldron I refined is called the Annihilation Lightning Cauldron. It can annihilate the heaven and earth. As for you, you have only refined a superior-grade flying sword. Are you worthy of competing with me for number one? This cauldron isn't bad, but unfortunately, it has a short lifespan." Su Fong gave a nonchalant smile as he released the might of a Dharma treasure, activating the flying sword. Chi! Chi! The flying sword shot out, transforming into two sword beams, one black and one white. Mysterious purple gas lingered around them as they collided with the lightning ball released by the Annihilation Lightning Cauldron. The expected explosion did not happen. With a poochie sound, the lightning ball was shattered by the black and white sword beams. It rapidly disintegrated, and the astounding lightning Dharma instantly vanished. However, the black and white sword beams did not lose their might. They swept past the Annihilation Lightning Cauldron before returning to Su Fong and transforming back into a flying sword. The Annihilation Lightning Cauldron shook uncontrollably, as if it had encountered the most terrifying existence. It was then taken back by the artifact refinement genius. Taking a closer look, the artifact refinement genius exclaimed, "What kind of flying sword is that? Not only can it easily dissolve the lightning Dharma released by the Annihilation Lightning Cauldron, it can also devour the luck and spirituality of the Lightning Cauldron." The artifact refinement masters on the high platform and the artifact refinement geniuses below were in an uproar. Breaking the attack of a divine artifact and devouring its luck and spirituality. What kind of domineering ability was that? Although my flying sword is only superior grade, I have infused a strand of purple Qi Dharma spirit into it. I have also infused the simplified yin-yang transformation seal into it. Therefore, it has the purple Qi Dharma spirit and the supreme might of the yin-yang transformation. Let alone a high Grey God artifact, even a peak extreme Grey God artifact, or even a King Grey God artifact, can't compete with it. Chapter 2245. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord had an indifferent expression. He looked like a dead man with no expression. His eyes were empty, like ashes after a fire. Su Fong revealed a look of mockery. "Lord Heavenly Fire, that day at Alpha Hall, you said that it was impossible for me to refine a superior grade divine artifact. Now, does Lord Heavenly Fire still believe that my divine artifact was refined by someone else?" Heavenly Fire Divine Lord said loftily, "How can a punk like you be so arrogant in front of me? The divine artifact you refined is only superior grade. What qualifications do you have to obtain first place in the artifact hall selection? It's still the same words. If I say your divine artifact is incompetent, then you are incompetent. I have the final say in the artifact hall. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile as he shouted loudly, Lord Heavenly Fire, do you really think I care about being first place? Justice is in everyone's heart. Whether my divine artifact gets first place or not is not up to you. You may be able to hide the truth from everyone in the artifact hall, but you can't hide it from everyone's eyes or mouths. Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's expression was livid. His eyes burned with terrifying heavenly fire once again. I participated in the artifact hall selection to let everyone see the true colors of the so-called number 1 artifact refinement master. Su Fongdao bellowed. Everyone was immediately in an uproar. In order to earn points, I refined divine artifacts to sell at Alpha Hall. However, Lord Heavenly Fire said that it was impossible for me to refine a superior grade divine artifact. He got Alpha Hall to reject my divine artifacts, cutting off my means of earning merit points. A refinement master under Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord let out a thunderous roar. What sort of figure is Lord Heavenly Fire? Why would he use such a method to target you? You think too highly of yourself. It's truly laughable. Everyone else also revealed looks of disbelief. Su Fong continued. The reason is simple. Lord Heavenly Fire has taken a fancy to a supreme treasure of mine and wants to take it from me. Shut up. How can I allow you to slander me? Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord bellowed angrily as a fiery divine might with the destructive aura of the heavenly Tao swept out. It enveloped Su Fong and was about to kill Su Fong. Su Fong remained motionless as he looked at Heavenly Fire Divine Lord with eyes filled with mockery. Heavenly Fire, you're so impressive. Could it be that you're in the Yuan Tiangong and want to kill the peerless geniuses of the Yuan Tiangong? You have to ask my Tao Protector first. A heavenly might suddenly descended, rapidly condensing into the shadow of Empyrean Sang Chio's Yuan soul. The terrifying aura of an Empyrean immediately swept away Heavenly Fire Divine, Lord's divine might. Many thanks, Your Highness. Su Fong cupped his fists and bowed to Emperor Sangchio. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord revealed a look of horror as he hurriedly bowed. He never expected that Empyrean Sage Sangchio would personally come for Su Fong's avatar. All of the artifact hall's artifact forging masters and artifact forging geniuses inside the divine artifact bowed while trembling. Empyrean Sage Sangchio ignored them as his voice resounded in Su Fong's mind. Su Fong, your scheming is comparable to your talent and strength. You sure have guts to use me again. Oomph. Su Fong's true body had already reached the 67th level of the 10,000 spell pagoda, attracting the attention of countless experts. How could Empyrean Sage Sang Chio not notice? 10,000 years of oblivion. His goal of entering the 10,000 spell pagoda in such a high-profile manner was to attract the attention of Empyrean sages. Only by borrowing the power of Empyrean sages could he ruthlessly retaliate against Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and the others. Although it was only Su Fong's avatar that was participating in the artifact hall selection, if he were to be killed by Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, how would the Yuan Tiangong have any face left? The Yuan Tiangong was built to nurture geniuses. If a peerless genius like Su Fong were to suffer such injustice within the Yuan Tiangong, how could the other geniuses not feel bitterly disappointed? How could they accept it? Therefore, Empyrean Sage Sangchio had no choice but to take action. Even if he did not, the other Yuan Tiangong experts would have to stop him. Empyrean sages were extremely powerful existences. How could Empyrean Sage Sangchio not see through Su Fong's scheming? However, Empyrean Sage Sangchio seemed to be reprimanding Su Fong, but he was actually praising him. After all, a person's strength was limited. If one did not know how to take advantage of others when they were weak, they would die very quickly. No matter how strong one's talent and strength were, how could one reach the peak without scheming and shrewdness? Lord Heavenly Fire, let's make things clear in front of Empyrean sage Sang Chio. Su Fong looked at Heavenly Fire, Divine Lord. Suddenly, an astonishing purple gas erupted from his body. An astonishing power that could control magic treasures, and even heaven and earth instantly swept out in all directions. Buzz, 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 buzz. The magic treasures that had just been refined by the refining geniuses trembled and submitted to the power of the purple gas Dharma spirit. This treasure of mine is called the purple gas Dharma spirit. It was formed by absorbing a large amount of great pregnant purple gas. It has accompanied me from the small world until now and is equivalent to my life. However, Lord Heavenly Fire wants to steal it from me. How can I agree to that? Su Fong's words shocked everyone. They looked at Su Fong with sparkling eyes, especially the refining masters who often dealt with magic treasures and more or less knew about the great pregnant purple gas. They were immediately shocked. Many people's first thought was to take this supreme treasure, the purple gas Dharma spirit, for themselves. However, when they saw Empyrean sage Sang Chio, their greed was immediately extinguished. Lord Heavenly Fire is an over-God expert, the #1 refining master in the universe. He knows that I have the purple gas Dharma spirit and wants it from me. After I refused, he used his power to pressure me and try to force me out of the Yuan Tiangong. Once I leave the Yuan Tiangong, Lord Heavenly Fire will definitely kill me and steal my treasure. Not only did Su Fong publicly reveal the purple gas Dharma spirit, but he also revealed Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's scheme. It immediately caused an uproar. Mo Tiangong was stunned. How can Su Fong reveal such a peerless treasure to the world? Then he saw Empyrean sage Sang Chio look at Su Fong with eyes full of admiration. He immediately understood. Su Fong is indeed smart. Since Heavenly Fire knew that he had the purple gas Dharma spirit, the secret would be exposed sooner or later. It was naturally difficult to keep a secret. Now that Su Fong had publicly revealed it, it was equivalent to completely extinguishing the greed of Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and everyone else. Su Fong's shocking performance in the 10,000 spell pagoda was enough to prove his strength. When the celestial worthy mountain opened, Su Fong would definitely be one of the peerless geniuses that entered. How could a peerless existence in the Yuan Tiangong cause him any harm? Luo Xingtian's targeting of Su Fong was a test for Su Fong. The higher-ups in the Yuan Tiangong would not pay attention to it. Instead, they would deliberately set up some tests to train Su Fong. If an expert like Heavenly Fire tried to target Su Fong, it would be far beyond the scope of training. If Heavenly Fire dared to attack Su Fong, what awaited him would be the most severe punishment from the peerless existence in the Yuan Tiangong. Even the Empyrean sage behind Heavenly Fire would not be able to protect him. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord naturally would not admit it. He gritted his teeth and snorted, "Nonsense. You can slander me however you want. Whether it's slander or not, you know in your heart. I'm not participating in the artifact refining selection this time to enter the artifact hall, nor for the generous rewards. I want to tell you that although I, Su Fong, come from a lowly background and have no background, I'm definitely not an ant that you can bully. You want to step on Su Fong's head? Don't even think about it." Su Fong shouted domineeringly. Then, he cupped his fists towards Emperor Sang Chio. He put away the divine artifact he had just refined and left the inner world of the divine artifact. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord was trembling with anger. Many artifact refining grandmasters in the artifact hall looked at Heavenly Fire with sympathy. He, the #1 artifact refining grandmaster in the universe, had lost all face this time. His old face had been slapped to a pulp by a young man. Emperor Sang Chio said indifferently, "Heavenly Fire, I don't think you are suitable for the position of Artifact Hall Master. What do you think?" Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's body trembled before he calmed down. He cupped his fists and said, "I've always been focused on refining artifacts and have no interest in the Artifact Hall. I was planning to resign from the position of Artifact Hall Master after the artifact refining selection. After saying that, Heavenly Fire Divine Lord left in embarrassment. Emperor Sang Chio looked at Mo Tiangong and company. Let the artifact hall selection continue. After Emperor Sang Chio left, Mo Tiangong said to the Zhu clan's artifact refining Grandmaster, I think Su Fong should take first place in this election. Grandmaster, what do you think? The Zhu clan elder nodded and said, Su Fong deserves first place. Many Grandmasters agreed. None of the other artifact refining geniuses made a sound. It was time for the results of the Pill Pagoda selection to be revealed. Many geniuses had completed their refinement, and their pills had been taken away. There were very few who had yet to complete their refinement. The Duanmu Divine Clan Elder counted the time with his fingers. There was still 5 minutes left before it ended. However, Su Fong had yet to refine his pills. He could not help but snort coldly. This kid really treats the Pill Pagoda selection as a joke. How serious is the Pill Pagoda selection? Once the selection is over, I'll definitely report this to the upper echelons of Yuan Tiangong and punish him severely. Suddenly, Su Fong shot some spiritual water into the divine cauldron. Chi, a white, fragrant cloud rose from the divine cauldron and disappeared. Just as Su Fong was about to grab the pill out of the divine cauldron, a pill shot out from the divine cauldron. Before Su Fong could react, and before he could even see the appearance of the pill clearly, the pill actually escaped into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. He had never expected that the pill he had refined would escape on its own. Spirit Accumulation Pill. The Duanmu Divine Clan Elder stood up abruptly. His eyes were filled with shock and excitement. The other alchemy grandmasters also stood up. Just as the Duanmu Divine Clan Elder was about to use his divine ability to grab the pill that had escaped, a thunderous sound rang out from the void. A surge of heavenly tribulation energy swept out from the void. The pill that had escaped was forced out of the void by the heavenly tribulation energy and appeared in the air. Rumble. Terrifying thunder rumbled in the air. A 1-mile-wide heavenly tribulation cloud rolled and condensed. Heavenly tribulation divine pill. He has refined a heavenly tribulation divine pill. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan exclaimed in surprise. His eyes shone brightly as he looked at the pill. Chapter 2246. What kind of elixir did Su Fong refine? It can actually escape on its own and attract the heavenly tribulation like a god? What is a spirit accumulation elixir? What is a thunder tribulation elixir? The artifact refining geniuses were surprised and puzzled. Many of them had never even heard of such a bizarre scene, let alone seen it. A Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy genius said slowly, the so-called spirit accumulation elixir is an elixir that has its own consciousness when it is born, similar to the original spirit of a Dharma treasure. The alchemy geniuses were shocked and stunned. Elixirs can also give birth to original spirits? Even plants have spirits, let alone elixirs made from the essence of plants. This kind of spirit accumulation elixir may not be of high quality, but it is full of spirituality and has a very special effect. The spirit accumulation elixir is very rare. The birth of this kind of elixir requires not only the alchemist's talent, but also luck, opportunities, and other factors. Those alchemy grandmasters can't refine it in their lifetime. It's not that their alchemy skills are not good enough, but they don't have the luck. What is a thunder tribulation elixir? The thunder tribulation elixir is even more amazing. It is because the elixir is too heaven-defying, and the heavenly Tao doesn't tolerate it and wants to destroy it. Think about it. How powerful is this kind of elixir? The Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy geniuses' words made the other alchemy geniuses gasp. It seems like Su Fong will be the winner of this year's Pill Pagoda selection ceremony. The Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy genius sighed helplessly. He had refined a peak supreme grade elixir and had a high chance of winning. He didn't expect Su Fong to refine the spirit accumulation elixir and attract the thunder tribulation. There was no need for the alchemy grandmasters to judge anything. Other than Su Fong, no one else would be the winner of this year's Pill Pagoda selection ceremony. That is the long-lost heaven-responding elixir. He can refine a long-lost elixir that can even accumulate spirits and attract thunder tribulation. Su Fang's alchemy talent is unmatched among his peers. If he is nurtured carefully, he will definitely surpass you and me in the future. The alchemy grandmasters of the Pill Tower were all greatly shocked. Everyone, including the old man from the Duanmu divine clan, looked at the elixir that Su Fang was refining. Their eyes were bright, and their expressions were filled with anticipation. At the same time, they were also unusually nervous. If this pill successfully passed the lightning tribulation, it would mean that a unique pill would be born. Su Fang stared at the pill without blinking. He was also very excited. Who would have thought that the refined heaven-responding pill would be so extraordinary? To be able to refine such a heaven pill, Su Fang's alchemy ability had little to do with it. The ability of the heaven-responding pill was to allow cultivators to comprehend the heavenly Tao, allowing them to enter a wondrous state of epiphany. Additionally, there is a certain chance that they would come into contact with the essence of the heavenly Tao. At this time, Su Fang was participating in the Pill Tower's pill refinement selection ceremony, with his dragon subduing true body as the main body. Not only did the dragon's subduing true body have a powerful recovery ability, but also had the ability to induce and stimulate wood-type life. The heaven-responding pill that he was refining had completely stimulated the wood-type essence of all the herbs and perfectly integrated them. In addition, Su Fang's nine-yang power also had the supreme ability to nourish all life. When the elixir was born, it had its own consciousness and became a spirit-accumulating pill. In addition, when Su Fang was refining the elixir, he had injected the nine-yang power and the yin-yang power into the cauldron. This meant that the elixir contained Su Fang's supreme way of the heavens. It had completely stimulated the properties of the enlightenment Bodhi wood fruit and made the heaven-responding pill even more extraordinary, which led to the lightning tribulation. Crack! After the tribulation cloud brewed for a short while, an extremely fierce thunder light shot out from the tribulation cloud and struck the elixir. In an instant, lightning flashed on the elixir, blocking everyone's vision. After about half an hour, the lightning was gradually worn down by the elixir. Some of it was absorbed by the elixir. The tribulation cloud in the sky also quickly dissipated and disappeared without a trace. Everyone looked over. They saw a dark golden elixir floating in the air. The surface of the elixir was covered with mysterious heavenly marks and faintly flashed with lightning. It looked extremely mysterious. The elixir trembled and tried to escape again. However, the Duanmu divine clan elder caught it in the air. The elixir struggled in the elder's hand as if it was a living thing. Although it's only at the peak of supreme grade, it's a long-lost elixir. It also contains an elixir spirit that has gone through the divine tribulation. This elixir is extraordinary, very extraordinary, the Duanmu divine clan elder exclaimed. His eyes shone brightly as if he could see through the elixir. A blacksmith master asked, "May I know what effect this elixir has?" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone looked at the Duanmu divine clan elder. Even Su Fang's heart was filled with curiosity. He did not know what kind of effect this heaven pill would have. Those alchemy geniuses had all forgotten that this was the Pill Pagoda selection ceremony, which would determine everyone's future. The Duanmu divine clan elder took a deep breath toward the heaven-responding pill. He stripped a wisp of elixir spirit from the elixir and sucked it into his nose. He closed his eyes and pondered for nearly half an hour. The Duanmu divine clan elder suddenly opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, "According to my speculation, after taking this elixir, one spirit can enter heaven and earth to comprehend the heavenly way's true essence and enter the state of epiphany for 10 breaths. Only 10 breaths? The alchemy geniuses and alchemy masters were disappointed. 10 breaths was too short a time to enter the state of epiphany. The elixir's effect was only slightly more unique than that of ordinary king-grade elixirs. It was not very useful for true experts. However, The Duanmu Divine Clan elder continued. I've only absorbed a wisp of elixir spirit, and I vaguely feel like I'm about to reach a higher realm. It's a pity for Dao Integration Realm cultivators to use this elixir. However, if an overgod cultivator consumes this elixir, he or she can reach the supreme sovereign realm. In fact, it might even have some effect on venerable sovereigns. What? The alchemy masters and alchemy geniuses were all shocked. They looked incredulous. An overgod cultivator was considered to have reached the pinnacle of a certain great Tao. The heaven-responding elixir could allow an overgod cultivator to reach the supreme sovereign realm. What kind of heaven-defying elixir was this? Let alone 10 breaths. Even a glimpse of the supreme sovereign realm was a dream for overgod cultivators. Which one of them would not scramble for it? It was even effective on sovereign realm experts. This was beyond everyone's imagination. Su Fong also felt incredulous. However, after thinking about it carefully, he understood the heaven-responding elixir itself was not that powerful. After fusing his supreme heavenly way into the elixir and being baptized by the lightning tribulation, this heaven-responding elixir had transformed. It was no longer an ordinary heaven-responding elixir. Su Fong, although this elixir was refined by you, it was refined with the materials of the Pill Tower. If you did not have the fruit of enlightenment Bodhi wood, you would not have been able to refine this elixir. Therefore, I'll accept this elixir. However, I'll naturally compensate you. How about this? I'll take out 1,000 creation saint elixirs in exchange for this heaven-responding elixir. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan looked at Su Fong and said with a smile. Su Fong touched the tip of his nose and was speechless. This Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy grandmaster is too shameless. He actually wants to take my heaven-responding elixir so openly. Although he was depressed, the Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy grandmaster was right. If he did not have the fruit of enlightenment Bodhi wood, he would not have been able to refine the heaven-responding elixir. However, this alchemy grandmaster was not too bad. He did not take it by force. Instead, he used 1,000 creation saint elixirs in exchange. The price he paid was extremely high. It was definitely not lower than the heaven-responding elixir that Su Fong had refined. Among the Pill Tower's alchemy grandmasters, other than those from the Duanmu Divine Clan, all looked at the old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan with disdain in their eyes. He openly took the elixir of an alchemy grandmaster and made it sound so reasonable. How shameless! Of course, although these alchemy grandmasters were dissatisfied, they did not dare to say anything. In the Pill Tower, the Duanmu Divine Clan could be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand. Who would dare to offend him? However, although these alchemy grandmasters did not dare to offend the Duanmu Divine Clan, it did not mean that others would not dare to offend him. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan had just put the heaven-responding elixir into a jade bottle when a burst of divine power erupted from the void. It wrapped around the jade bottle and disappeared into the void without a trace. Everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. Only Dao Emperor's laughter could be heard from the void. Su Fong, this elixir is somewhat useful to me. You can give it to me as a gift. I will give you 3,000 creation saint elixirs. Whoosh! A storage ring flew out of the void and appeared in front of Su Fong. Su Fong grabbed the storage ring and looked inside with his consciousness. There were indeed 3,000 creation saint elixirs. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan gritted his teeth and said, Only Dao Emperor, you are a supreme emperor. How dare you snatch my elixir? You have gone too far. This heaven-responding elixir is a gift from Su Fong to me. How can I snatch it? Little guy, you are not qualified to talk to me. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan is more qualified. Ha! Only Dao Emperor's laughter gradually faded into the distance and finally disappeared into the void. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan was so angry that his beard and eyebrows were raised. He looked very comical. Many alchemy geniuses were dumbfounded. Huff, the old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan, calmed down and looked at Su Fong with a kind gaze. Su Fong, the first place in this Pill Pagoda selection is yours. Step aside. When the selection is over, I will reward you handsomely. In the future, you'll be able to refine more elixirs for the Pill Pagoda." Su Fong cupped his fists and bowed. Then, he said loudly, "I did not participate in the Pill Pagoda selection for the first place. I only wanted to prove my alchemy skills. Now that I have achieved my goal, I will take my leave." After saying that, Su Fong flew out of the formation space. Whoosh, inside the formation space, there was an uproar. They did not understand why Su Fong would do such a strange thing. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan said coldly, "Su Fong, you better explain yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." Su Fong stopped and said slowly, "Senior Duanmu, if you want to know the reason, you can ask the Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemist in the Divine Pivot Hall. You will know the reason." One of the Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemists secretly transmitted his voice to the old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan. Chapter 2247. After hearing what the Duanmu Divine Clan's alchemy master said, the Duanmu Divine Clan's old man's face darkened. He snorted and said, "He didn't even know that he was being used by the Luo family. How did my Duanmu Divine Clan produce such an idiot like Duanmu Renjia?" Looking at Su Fong, the Duanmu Divine Clan's old man said, "Su Fong, I already know why you did this. It's Duanmu Renjia's fault. I'll apologize to you on his behalf. Let's write off the old debt. Write off the old debt." Su Fong sneered in his heart. "Duanmu Renjia and I are both Yuan Tiangong geniuses. It's better for me to settle the grudge between the two of us." Duanmu Renji used the Duanmu Divine Clan's power to make the Divine Pivot Hall reject Su Fong's elixirs. He even asked manager Du to set up a trap. If Su Fong fell for it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now that he admitted his mistake so casually, how could he write off the old debt? The Duanmu Divine Clan's old man furrowed his white eyebrows. Displeasure could be seen in his eyes. The other alchemy masters, especially those from the Duanmu Divine Clan, were all displeased. They secretly said that Su Fong was too arrogant. The Duanmu Divine Clan was an ancient clan in the ancient god world. Their power and foundation were much stronger than the Sanskrit and the Luo family. Moreover, this old man's identity was extraordinary. He was a big shot in the myriad worlds. It was very rare for him to apologize to Su Fong on behalf of Duanmu Renjia. After all, the Duanmu Divine Clan had to care about their reputation. To ordinary people, this was already the best they could do. Seeing that Su Fong didn't appreciate it at all and intended to continue fighting with Duanmu Renjia, the Duanmu Divine Clan's old man was enraged. Suddenly, the old man's divine light changed. He didn't know what had happened. Then, the alchemy masters of the Pill Tower took out their rune talismans and tokens. They received news from the Artifact Hall and the 10,000 Spell Tower. Su Fong's clone won the first place in the Artifact Hall selection. Sovereign Sang Chiu personally appeared. Heavenly Fire bullied Su Fong and was forced to leave the Pill Tower. In the 10,000 Spell Pagoda, Su Fong's original body has already reached the 67th floor. Furthermore, he might be able to pass this floor. Those alchemy grandmasters who received the news let out cries of disbelief. An Earth Realm genius had actually shaken the number 1 weapon refining grandmaster. Passing the 67th floor meant that Su Fong possessed the terrifying strength to fight against overgods, or even defeat overgods. As for Su Fong, during the Yuan Tiangong entrance test, his cultivation time was less than 200,000 years. To possess the strength of an overgod in such a short amount of time, just how heaven-defying was his talent. In addition, he was the champion of the Pill Pagoda selection. Such a peerless genius, let alone Di Yuan, even the peerless genius of the imperial people, Di Xuan, was far inferior to him back then. The way the crowd looked at Su Fong changed drastically. They no longer looked at him condescendingly, but as an equal. When those alchemy geniuses heard the news from the Pill Pagoda's big shots, they all fell into a state of intense shock. They looked at Su Fong as if they were looking at a monster. Other than shock, there was also reverence. The Duanmu Divine clan elder fell into silence. He could vaguely feel that a storm had been stirred up by Su Fong. Anyone who had bullied him before would be overthrown by him. At this moment, it was no longer the time to care about the Duanmu Divine clan's reputation. Instead, he had to find a way to resolve Su Fong's hatred toward the Duanmu Divine clan and protect Duanmu Renjia. The elder suddenly stood up and nodded at Su Fong. Su Fong, Duanmu Renjia has been spoiled by the clan since he was young, causing him to be arrogant and despotic. This time, he is in the wrong. I will give you an explanation on behalf of the Duanmu Divine clan. Su Fong couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't expect the Duanmu Divine clan elder to change so quickly. In the next moment, the Duanmu Divine clan elder's eyes suddenly turned sharp, and the atmosphere in the formation space suddenly froze. In the Alpha Hall, the Duanmu Divine clan elder in charge of elixirs will be stripped of his position as an elder. He will be punished according to the clan's rules. Duanmu Renjia will be punished to enter the ancient demon abyss to cultivate for 10,000 years. The Duanmu Divine clan elder's decision shocked everyone. They couldn't believe that the Duanmu Divine clan elder was going to strip an elder of his position for Su Fong. Duanmu Renjia was in an even worse state. The ancient demon abyss was a well-known perilous place. It was used by the Yuan Tiangong as a training ground for geniuses. The ancient demon abyss wasn't only dark and had a harsh environment. It was also extremely dangerous. Even domain lords could lose their lives if they entered. It was because it was too dangerous that the ancient demon abyss wasn't open to geniuses for the time being. They had to wait until the genius's strength reached a certain level before it was opened as a training ground. Duanmu Renjia was punished to enter the ancient demon abyss. Even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. A Duanmu Divine clan alchemist said loudly, "The punishment of an elder and the number one genius in the clan needs to be discussed by the upper echelons of the clan." The Duanmu Divine clan elder interrupted him and said firmly, "This is the decision of my clan's venerable sovereign expert." The members of the Duanmu Divine clan were all shocked and froze. Su Fong was also shocked by the Duanmu Divine clan's decision. He thought to himself, the Duanmu Divine clan is indeed an ancient divine clan. They are so decisive. They know that from today onwards, no one will be able to suppress me. Sooner or later, I will take revenge on Duanmu Renjia and the Duanmu Divine clan. Therefore, they made such a decision immediately. Compared to the Duanmu Divine clan, the Sanskrit Divine clan and the Luo clan of the ancient divine world are much weaker. The Duanmu Divine clan elder continued. As for the Alpha Hall steward Du, he will be punished by the punishment hall. Su Fong, are you satisfied with this punishment? Thank you, Senior Duanmu. I admire the Duanmu Divine clan. How can I not be satisfied with this punishment? Su Fong cupped his fists and thanked the Duanmu Divine clan elder. The Duanmu Divine clan elder continued. Now, are you willing to join the Pill Pagoda? Su Fong answered without hesitation. I am indebted to Senior's kindness. My ambition is not to refine pills or forge weapons. I want to reach the peak of cultivation. Su Fong can only accept Senior's kindness. Such talent in alchemy. It is really a pity. The Duanmu Divine clan elder sighed. He continued, in the future, no one in the Alpha Hall will dare to reject the pills that you refine. Thank you, Senior. Su Fong bowed to the Duanmu Divine clan elder and left the space of the formation. 10,000 Spell Pagoda. Su Fong's original body was still on the 67th floor. More and more people gathered outside the pagoda. Other than the Yuan Tiangong geniuses, most of the king gods had appeared outside the pagoda. QL11, this was still visible. There were also many venerable sovereigns secretly watching Su Fong. It is impossible for Su Fong to surpass Di Yuan. It is impossible. Luo Xingtian's eyes were red and his face was a little distorted. He had already received news that Su Fong had won 2 first places in the Weapon Hall and Pill Pagoda selections. This news had already shaken the Yuan Tiangong. If Su Fong passed the 67th floor, the venerable sovereigns would definitely pay attention to him. If the matter of him instructing the frost plants was exposed, He did not dare to imagine what kind of punishment would await him. Luo Xingtian, what is there to worry about? Even if Su Fong won first place in the Weapon Hall and Pill Pagoda selections and passed the 67th floor of the 10,000 Arts Pagoda, so what? Duanmu Rinjia said domineeringly. Even if Su Fong's strength is heaven-defying, do you think he can go against your Luo clan? Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for a peerless genius with no background to deal with him? How many peerless geniuses have appeared in the myriad worlds? There are even geniuses who are more heaven-defying than Su Fong. But what happened in the end? These geniuses either became slaves controlled by powerful forces or died prematurely. How many of them could reach the peak? Duanmu Rinjia scoffed at Su Fong's performance. Duanmu Rinjia. A dignified elder appeared outside the 10,000 Arts Pagoda and headed straight for Duanmu Rinjia. Punishment Grand Elder, why are you here personally? How can a mere Su Fong disturb you? Duanmu Rinjia's face turned pale from fright. This was because this dignified elder was the punishment Grand Elder of the Duanmu Divine Clan. No one in the Duanmu Divine Clan was not afraid of him. The dignified elder said, I am here for you, Duanmu Rinjia said in a trembling voice. For me, my clan's venerable sovereigns have personally ordered you to enter the ancient demon abyss to train for 10,000 years. Follow me. The dignified elder's words sent chills down Duanmu Rinjia's spine. He felt as though he had fallen into an ice cave. As though he was grasping at the last straw, he said, Grand Elder, please tell my clan's venerable sovereigns that I am not strong enough and will most likely die in the ancient demon abyss. The good deeds that you have done in secret have alarmed the venerable sovereigns. Entering the ancient demon abyss is your punishment. How do you speak of it? The dignified elder reached out his hand and pulled Duanmu Rinjia into his body as though he was grabbing a chick. Then he left. Luo Xingtian felt that something was amiss. The other Yuan Tiangong geniuses started to discuss among themselves. They did not understand why the Duanmu Divine Clan would punish Duanmu Rinjia like this. 10,000 Arts Pagoda. 67th level. Su Fong's real body had been in an empty space for more than a month. His aura was weak and his face was pale. It was obvious that he had expended a lot of energy. Whoosh! There was a ripple in the space, and 4 figures quickly formed. They charged at Su Fong from different directions. The aura of each figure was extremely empty. They were all at the pinnacle of the 9th heaven of the Tao integration realm. If it was just 4 pinnacle region lords, Su Fong would not have had such a hard time. Moreover, he would not have taken such a long time. At this moment, he was in the world of a lord. Unfortunately, this lord was an expert who cultivated the Tao of doppelgangers. In this lord's world, he could create countless doppelgangers. Every time he killed one, more and stronger doppelgangers would appear. The doppelgangers went from the early stage Tao integration realm to the mid-stage Tao integration realm. Now, they were all at the pinnacle of the late-stage Tao integration realm. The only way to escape from this lord's world was to use an attack that was at the level of a lord to tear apart his world. A lord is indeed extremely strong. He is not someone that I can fight against now. If this drags on, I will be killed. A lord is really too strong. Chapter 2248. If I use the Origin's Sacred Mirror and activate it together with Senior Apprentice Sister Shu Wanjin, it shouldn't be difficult for me to kill ordinary overgods. Su Fong had tested his limits in the 10,000 spell pagoda this time. Although the target of the trial on the 67th floor has reached the level of an overgod, he hasn't displayed his true strength as an overgod yet. If I wait for him to use his full strength, it's practically impossible for me to pass. I've taken first place in the selections of the Pill Tower and Artifact Hall, and now I've passed the 67th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda. It's enough to attract the attention of an overgod. I've already achieved my goal, so there's no need to continue hiding anything. Su Fong looked at the 4-peak region lords who were charging towards him with a resolute expression in his eyes. Then, he condensed the flower of heavenly ways and formed a shocking seal to use the yin-yang transformation. a supreme might derived from the yin-yang transformation of the heavenly ways erupted from the flower of heavenly ways. Qi. The space before him rapidly collapsed and shattered layer by layer under the boundless might of the heavenly ways. Even the world of an overgod was unable to resist the terrifying might of the yin-yang transformation. As the world collapsed, the four-peak region lords who were charging towards Su Fong vanished as well. A staircase descended from the void, and Su Fong ascended it and passed the 67th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda. The icy cold voice resounded once more within the 10,000 spell pagoda. Trial taker, you've obtained a month's time to recover. Do you choose to rest or continue the trial? A month? The trial of an overgod has an extra 20 days of rest. It's impossible to recover much in a month's time, but it's better than nothing. Although it's very difficult for me to pass the next floor, it's good to experience it in advance. Su Fong immediately sat cross-legged in the air. After forming a seal, he transformed into the blue sky underworld state and madly devoured pills and spiritual items, seizing every second to recover his enormous consumption. One by one, the creation Saint elixirs and yin-yang true pole elixirs fell into the blood water as if they were free. They were quickly swallowed by the blood water. The blue sky underworld, which had originally appeared dispirited due to the consumption, gradually began to boil. Around 20 days, in the middle of the bloody water, a Su Fong's body condensed and rolled out a small mountain of resources. These resources were obtained by Su Fong by selling 700,000 yuan Tiangong quotas, as well as the territory of a small world. The quality of these resources was not very high. Su Fong usually did not use them for his cultivation. Now that Su Fong had taken them out, he planned to use the yin-yang transformation to convert them into primal chaos force to quickly recover his strength. The yin-yang transformation could devour all things in the world. However, the consumption of the yin-yang world was astonishing. The consumption of resources was slightly smaller, and the primal chaos chi obtained was far greater than the consumption. However, the consumption of resources was also incomparably shocking. Usually, Su Fong was reluctant to spend resources, but now they no longer had any scruples. He could predict that countless masters were paying attention to him right now. The more outstanding his performance was, the more attention he would receive, especially from Emperor Realm masters. He didn't have a strong background, so he could only rely on his own talent and strength to win a chance for survival. The 68th floor, even if I can't pass it, I will persevere until the very last moment. Su Fong's eyes were filled with determination and persistence. Outside the 10,000 spell pagoda, there was an uproar because Su Fong had passed the 67th floor. Goddess Luo and Xuanxin stared fixedly at the 10,000 spell pagoda. Their eyes flashed with a bright light with pride. This lowly cultivator who ascended from the outside world can actually stand shoulder to shoulder with Di Yuan. How is this possible? Luo Xingtian gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and fear from the bottom of his heart. Il Woyang and the other geniuses from the ancient god world looked at the 10,000 spell pagoda with jealousy and a sense of powerlessness. Finally, someone could pose a threat to me. This is not necessarily a bad thing. This is just the beginning. Su Fong, you can't surpass me. Di Yuan snorted and left the 10,000 spell pagoda. Those overgod experts were secretly communicating with each other. They all praised Su Fong's heaven-defying performance. What made Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong extremely depressed was that many overgod experts intentionally or unintentionally left the two of them. It was as if they wanted to draw a line between them. There were also some people who looked at the two of them with eyes full of sympathy. It was as if they had been slapped in the face in public. The reason couldn't be simpler. Back then, Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong had angrily rebuked Su Fong and threatened to teach Su Fong a lesson. Now, QL11, the two of them didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but they didn't explain anything. There was no way to explain. Among the overgod experts, Hanji's yang spirit was also among them. On the surface, he looked like he was frozen, but his heart had long been in a mess. Damn it, damn it. How can this be? Hanji's heart trembled when he thought of the situation he was about to face. The two first-place winners of the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selections were now in the 10,000 spell pagoda and had reached the same height as Diyuan. How could they not attract the attention of venerable sovereigns? If the matter of him targeting Su Fong in the Earth Realm's dojo was exposed, and the venerable sovereigns knew that he had persecuted a peerless genius, how could they let him go? What should we do? Hanji looked at Luo Xingtian as if he had grasped at a life-saving straw. He immediately sent a Yuan spirit voice to Luo Xingtian. Young Master Xingtian, what should we do next? Unexpectedly, Luo Xingtian gritted his teeth and replied, You swore that Su Fong was seriously injured and couldn't complete the task of the 10,000 spell pagoda. What now? You're an overgod expert, the master of the Earth Realm's dojo, but you can't even deal with an Earth Realm genius. Trash. Why would I use trash like you? Hanji was also an overgod expert. Being insulted by Luo Xingtian, he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Young Master Luo, are you planning to burn the bridge after crossing the river? Since young Master Luo has decided to wash your hands of this matter, if Su Fong complains to the venerable sovereigns, at worst, it'll be a life and death struggle. Luo Xingtian hurriedly said, This young master was a little impatient and offended you just now. Please forgive me, Lord Hanji. Only then did Hanji's expression soften a little. Luo Xingtian continued, Lord Hanji, don't worry about anything. Don't forget, my clan also has venerable sovereigns. How much can Su Fong do? Moreover, Lord is an overgod expert. Venerable sovereigns won't punish a overgod for a mere Su Fong. Besides, what can they possibly have against you? Then, Luo Xingtian revealed a ruthless expression. Lord Hanji, didn't you arrange for Hanbei to stay in Su Fong's dojo? When he comes out of the 10,000 spell pagoda and returns to the dojo, he'll be at his weakest. At that time, let Hanbei take action. Who will care about a dead genius in Yuan Tiangong? Hanji thought for a long time, then nodded. Traces of coldness seeped out of his deep eyes. A month of rest passed in the blink of an eye. A divine power was released from the 10,000 spell pagoda. It wrapped around Su Fong and sent him directly to the 68th floor. Whoosh, a black-robed old man escaped from nothingness. This person's aura was empty, as if he didn't belong to this world. Even with Su Fong's sensing ability, he could only faintly sense the aura of the great path that shackled heaven and earth. It was as if he was the incarnation of a heaven and earth cage that could shackle all things in the world and all methods. What a powerful overgod! Su Fong had seen many overgod experts, but this was the first time he had truly fought with one. He couldn't help but feel a little nervous. However, the nervousness in his heart was quickly replaced by a strong desire to fight. Overgods were existences that stood at the peak of the great path in the universe. 200,000 years ago, Su Fong was just a cultivator from a small world. Compared to an overgod, he was not even an ant or a weed. Now that he could actually fight with an overgod expert, Su Fong couldn't help but feel a sense of pride ignite in his heart. He was overflowing with fighting spirit. The black-robed old man's unfathomable gaze swept past Su Fong, and then he said gloomily, Only third heavenly layer Dao integration? You're the weakest trial taker I've ever seen. Su Fong was surprised. A trial taker with self-awareness? And you call yourself this lord? How interesting. The black-robed old man said, Above the 67th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda, the trial taker on each floor is either the clone of an overgod expert or a venerable emperor expert who has suppressed the demon race, the big goblin, or revived experts. They are shackled in the 10,000 spell pagoda and used as trial takers to temper geniuses. I see. Su Fong came to a sudden realization and cupped his fists at the old man. I'm Su Fong. Senior, please enlighten me. This lord's true body has long fallen, and my clone is left in the 10,000 spell pagoda, unable to leave. It's like a living corpse, so you don't have to be so respectful to me. You're only third heavenly layer Tao integration, but you can actually kill your way to the 68th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda. Have all the geniuses in the universe become so powerful? Su Fong was about to speak, but the black-robed old man waved his hand and said, "Seeing that you're so young, this lord will reduce the difficulty a little before the trial begins. This lord's great Tao is the heaven punishment great Tao, which can control the power of heaven and earth punishment and turn heaven and earth into a cage. As long as you can break this heaven and earth cage, you'll pass. Heaven punishment great Tao. There are thousands of great Taos, but this was the first time Su Fong had heard of the heaven punishment great Tao. After thinking for a moment, Su Fong asked, "If I injure you, will it be considered a pass?" "You mean, not only can you break this lord's heaven and earth cage, but you can also injure this lord? Boy, your current strength is not even at the peak of the third floor. Obviously, you've overexerted yourself earlier. Even if you're at your peak, it's absolutely impossible for you to break this lord's heaven and earth cage, let alone injure this lord. I really don't know where your confidence comes from." The black-robed old man was startled, and then he burst into laughter, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. Su Fong said quietly, "What if I'm lucky enough to injure you, senior? Then you'll still pass." The black-robed old man chuckled again. Then the old man stretched out his finger and drew in the air. In an instant, a huge and boundless cage emerged from heaven and earth, quickly turning into reality and shackling Su Fong in the center. Chapter 2249. In the depths of Yuan Tiangong, inside a palace, more than 30 venerable sovereigns were communicating with each other in a strange way. At this time, the venerable sovereigns were not dealing with the major events of the myriad worlds, but were discussing Su Fong. Su Fong's talent is truly heaven-defying. He has already surpassed Di Yuan and will be a peerless genius qualified to enter the exalted celestial mountain in the future. Heaven-defying? If the heavens could be reversed, the myriad worlds would not have suffered such a catastrophe. Su Fong participated in the selection of the artifact hall and the pill tower with his clone and won first place. But he refused to join the artifact hall and the pill tower. He is clearly challenging the supreme authority of the Yuan Tiangong. The stronger his talent and strength are, the harder it will be to control him in the future. That's right. This kid looks down on the Yuan Tiangong so much. He is born rebellious and is not worth the effort to cultivate. The venerable sovereigns were shocked by Su Fong's speed of improvement and his amazing talent and strength. However, there are also people who kept pouring cold water on them. Only Dao, sovereign, snorted coldly. "We created the Yuan Tiangong not to cultivate slaves, but to cultivate geniuses to enter the exalted celestial mountain. There is no shortage of slaves in the myriad worlds, but we lack such peerless geniuses." The venerable sovereigns of the fire god, Zhu clan, snorted. "Is Su Fong the kind of genius you want to cultivate by letting others bully him? If you want to step on his head and resist even a little bit, that will be considered treason. To be so overbearing, do you think Primordius Heavenly Palace is your own backyard?" The venerable sovereigns fell silent. Whoosh, a white-clothed figure quickly condensed on the main seat. It was the supreme existence of the imperial people. Lord D. Many venerable sovereigns stood up and saluted the imperial people's white-clothed figure. There is movement in the exalted celestial mountain again. I'm afraid the situation is more serious than we expected. The matter of cultivating geniuses to enter the exalted celestial mountain must be sped up. The imperial people's supreme existence's rare solemn tone made the atmosphere in the hall become oppressive. Suddenly, the imperial people's white-clothed figure raised his eyebrows. Shortly after, he revealed a slight smile. "Su Fong, this child, is indeed extraordinary." Many Emperor Masters projected their consciousness onto the 68th floor of the 10,000 spell tower. On the 68th floor, Su Fong sat cross-legged in the air with his eyes closed. His divine body and divine apertures were shackled by the black-robed old man, and he couldn't resist at all. The black-robed old man slowly appeared from the prison of heaven and earth. He smiled and said, "Boy, I want to see how you can hurt me. If you can touch the corner of my clothes, you'll pass." Bang! Su Fang's eyes suddenly opened. A black and white yin and yang vortex swirled in his pupils, shooting out a xianguang that landed on the black-robed old man. Mediating destiny technique. Even in my world cage, you can still use your divine powers. Boy, you're quite interesting. However, all your struggles are futile. What kind of great Tao divine power is this? The black-robed old man looked very disdainful at first, but when he sensed the supreme divine power contained in the mediating destiny technique that could reverse the past and control the future, he suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Around the black-robed old man, the yin and yang vortex flowed in reverse, as if time was reversing, reflecting the scenes that had happened before. Lightning flashed. Su Fang reached out and grabbed a light shadow. The scene that appeared was the scene when Su Fang entered the 68th floor and the black-robed old man appeared. How can a mere path integration cultivator master such a heaven-defying divine power? Damn it! As the light shadow that Su Fang grabbed quickly became real, the black-robed old man's figure quickly turned into nothingness under the supreme power of the great Tao that could reverse the past and future. At this moment, the heavenly Tao avatar was released by Su Fang. The ripened fruits on the tree of avatar had already been used by Su Fang in the process of breaking through the pagoda earlier. They could only be stored again after 10,000 years. There was only one fruit that was surrounded by lightning. It was a fruit that Su Fang had condensed on the tree of avatar after absorbing the power of the heavenly tribulation when he advanced to the path integration realm. It could release the divine power of thunder. As this fruit had not fully ripened, Su Fang did not use it when breaking through the pagoda earlier. In the 10,000 spell pagoda, one could not activate the divine artifact, nor could one borrow any power other than one's own. At this moment, Su Fang had already used all the means at his disposal. He could only use his last divine power. A ray of yang spirit quickly merged with the thunder fruit. Boom! The thunder fruit turned into a white thunderbolt that was as thick as a bucket. One could vaguely see that it was like a divine dragon that was formed by thunder and lightning. The scene that had been forcibly reversed by Su Fang's mediating destiny technique had not yet condensed into reality when it was ruthlessly bombarded by Su Fang's thunder and lightning. It was immediately shattered. The black-robed man who existed in the present finally broke free from the state of reality, turning into nothingness. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura weakened. Good boy, what a powerful divine power. I've never seen such a powerful divine power before. Get lost, you've passed this stage. The black-robed man laughed and disappeared into nothingness. Su Fang also suffered from the backlash of the heavenly Tao. He spat out blood and his aura weakened. His hair turned gray and his body was shrouded in a layer of dark clouds. Although the mediating destiny technique is powerful, the consumption is unbearable. Su Fang trembled and looked as if he would faint at any time. However, his eyes flickered with excitement, and his heart was brimming with joy. At this moment, a staircase slowly condensed from nothingness. Su Fang staggered up the stairs and almost climbed to the end. Appearing in nothingness, the cold voice sounded again. Trial taker, do you choose to rest for 3 months or continue the challenge? Rest, Su Fang said with difficulty. Then he forced himself to sit cross-legged and recover. At this moment, he even lost the strength to leave the 10,000 spell pagoda. He passed. Su Fang passed the 68th floor. Outside the 10,000 spell pagoda, there was a burst of exclamations. Forget it, I'm not going to chase after him. It's too tiring. Xuanxin sighed in his heart. However, his eyes were filled with joy. When he looked at Goddess Luo, he did not know when she had left the 10,000 spell pagoda. Sheng Wuji looked at Emo Tiangong and said with a bitter smile, Blacksmith, it won't be long before this kid surpasses you and me. Emo Tiangong replied with a smile, I've been enlightened by him before. I've long predicted that he will surpass me one day. Sheng Wuji said. Every time there's a catastrophe, there's bound to be a peerless figure. Su Fong is a peerless genius who was born in this catastrophe. From today onwards, no one will be able to cover up his peerless talent. Those clowns are going to suffer a great loss this time. Farmer, let's just wait and watch the show. Luo, Xingtian, Il Woyang, and the other geniuses of the ancient god world were all pale. They looked at the 10,000 spell pagoda with unconcealable fear. Luo Xingtian's mind was completely blank. In the palace entrance test, although Su Fong's performance was shocking, he did not have any power or influence. Luo Xingtian could use his family's influence to step on his head. How could he step on him now? Luo Xingtian had tried every means to suppress Su Fong for 10,000 years. In the end, he obtained first place in both the Artifact Hall and the Pill Pagoda selections. Now, he had set a record in the 10,000 spell pagoda that no one could surpass. Such a person would definitely reach the pinnacle in the future, unless his future was cut off now. Luo Xingtian was no longer thinking about how to deal with Su Fong. Instead, he was thinking of ways to protect himself. 3 months later, Su Fong flew out of the 10,000 spell pagoda. He seemed to have recovered a little, but his hair was still white and his breath was weak. He looked like he was in his 50s. However, his eyes shined with an unrivaled sharpness, causing those primordious heavenly palace geniuses to feel a burning pain in their eyes. They couldn't help but feel awe and rise in their hearts. Xuanqin flew over and came to Su Fong's side. The two looked at each other and smiled. Everything was in silence. Xuanqin transmitted his voice. Su Fong, are you okay? It's nothing serious. I'll be able to recover quickly after a while. Su Fong held Xuanqin's hand, but he did not see Goddess Luo. He could not help but feel a little regretful. He flew alongside Xuanqin to Shengwuji and Mo Tiangong. Su Fong cupped his fists and said, "Greetings to the two seniors. Kid, you've shaken the entire Yuan Tiangong this time." Sheng Wuji stroked his foot-long beard and chuckled. He was very satisfied with Su Fong's respect. He felt that he had gained a lot of face in front of so many overgod powerhouses. The other overgod powerhouses were all stunned when they saw this, but they soon understood. Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong had reprimanded Su Fong before. It turned out that it was all an act. Who knew how many clowns had jumped out? They were definitely going to be in big trouble this time. Su Fong, congratulations on passing the 68th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda. You've won first place in the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selections. Chu Bingyan, Tian Bao, Sun Qi, and the others stepped forward and congratulated Su Fong loudly. Su Fong had passed the 10,000 spell pagoda and won first place in the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selections. It was not just an empty reputation. It was also something that would make any genius envious. Moreover, from today onwards, Su Fong's name would shake the entire Yuan Tiangong. Naturally, it was something worth celebrating. Luo Xingtian glared at Su Fong, who was like a moon surrounded by stars. He turned around and was about to leave. Looking at Luo Xingtian's back, Su Fong's eyes suddenly became sharp. Luo Xingtian, it's time to settle the score between you and me. Luo Xingtian sneered domineeringly. Isn't it just 100,000 merit points? I don't lack this little bit of money now. I'll just reward you. What else can you do? Su Fong snorted. You probably forgot that you owe me, Su Fong, far more than 100,000 points. I've said before that I, Su Fong, will take back what you owe me tenfold. I hope you're ready. Come and get it if you have the ability. I'll be waiting for you at any time. Luo Xingtian was still unyielding. He responded to Su Fong domineeringly and quickly left. Then, Su Fong bid farewell to Mo Tiangong, Sheng Wuji, and the others. Accompanied by Xuanqin, he left the 10,000 spell pagoda and returned to the dojo in the Earth Realm. Unexpectedly, when he returned to the Earth Realm, he was blocked by a barrier outside the Eldritch world. He used his perfection stage ability and sensed that there was someone in the palace. My dojo was actually occupied by someone. Chapter 2250. A young man walked out of the palace and looked at Su Fong and Xuanqin outside the barrier. He sneered proudly. Su Fong, do you recognize me? Su Fongda scanned the young man with his full power and sensed that the aura inside the barrier was exactly the same as this person's. Are you qualified for me, Su Fong, to recognize you? He was telling the truth. There were more than 10,000 yuan Tiangong geniuses, and this person's cultivation was only at the sixth heaven of the godly venerable realm. It had been 10,000 years since they entered Yuan Tiangong, and all the geniuses improved rapidly. A sixth heaven of the godly venerable realm could only be considered ordinary among the many geniuses. At most, he was a yellow realm disciple. How could Su Fong recognize such an insignificant person? The young man seemed to have been humiliated and was instantly enraged. Su Fong, you are indeed arrogant. I, Hanbei, challenge you. Su Fong said coldly and embarrassedly, you took over my training ground and took advantage of the fact that I just entered the 10,000 spell pagoda to challenge me while I was still weak. You must have been instructed by someone, right? Have you thought about the consequences of a yellow realm disciple like you doing this? Hanbei grinned proudly. I only know that as long as I succeed in challenging you, not only will I be able to become famous in Yuan Tiangong and enter an Earth Realm training ground, I will also be valued by young Master Luo Xingtian and have a bright future. This is my result. Su Fong said, what if I don't accept your challenge? According to the rules of Yuan Tiangong, you must accept Hanbei's challenge. Hanji's cold voice was heard, and soon his figure appeared outside the training ground. Su Fong's eyes were like ice. It's you again. How dare you, a mere heaven realm disciple, dare to offend your superior and be rude to me? Han Ji shouted coldly. A wave of aura swept out and hit Su Fong. Su Fong staggered and was pushed back dozens of feet. If not for Xuanxin using his divine power to stabilize him, it would have been difficult for him to stay in the air. As expected, his strength hasn't recovered. This is my only chance. I can't miss it. Otherwise, I won't have a place in Yuan Tiangong. Han Ji made up his mind. At the same time, his killing intent surged. Actually, with his cultivation as an overgod, he could tell with a single glance that Su Fong had only recovered 30% of his strength. However, he had been tricked by Su Fong many times before, so he did not quite trust his senses. As a result, he purposefully tested him. Sure enough, as Han Ji expected, Su Fong's consumption in the 10,000 spell pagoda was disastrous. A mere 3 months' time was simply impossible to recover. Han Ji displayed the dignity of a Lord God powerhouse. He said, according to the rules of Primordius Heavenly Palace, the geniuses of the lower-level Dao arenas have the qualifications to challenge the geniuses of the higher-level Dao arenas. There is no rule that states that you cannot jump ranks and challenge someone, nor is there a time limit for the challenge. As the sovereign of an Earth Realm Dao arena, I command you to accept the challenge. Xuanxin shouted coldly. Lord Hanji, you insist on doing things your own way. Aren't you afraid of being punished by Yuan Tiangong? Hanji snorted. I don't need you to tell me what to do. This has nothing to do with you. You'd better not interrupt. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving face to the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan. Xuanxin took out his token and was about to activate it when Su Fong stopped him. Then Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. There's a saying in the mortal world, you can survive a natural disaster, but you can't survive a self-inflicted disaster. Lord Hanji, have you heard of it? Hanji snorted. I'm a king god. I'm the heavens. Who could do anything to me? Hanji made a hand seal and opened a passage in the barrier. Then he shouted to Su Fongda, Su Fong, didn't you surpass the Yuan Shaozun? Why don't you dare to accept the challenge of a mere Yellow Realm disciple? As you wish. Su Fong passed through the formation and entered the Eldritch continent. Xuanxin reminded him, Su Fong, be careful. Su Fong smiled. Wouldn't it be ridiculous if I can't even deal with a Yellow Realm genius? He's just a clown. Han Ji said gloomily, Su Fong, I'll make it clear in advance. If you make a mistake and injure your opponent during the challenge, you won't have to bear any responsibility. Su Fong smiled. Thank you for your reminder, Lord Hanji. Hanji secretly transmitted his voice to Hanbei through his Yuan spirit, Kill him at all costs. Otherwise, including myself and you, no one will have a good time. Su Fang, you'll become my stepping stone to become famous in Yuan Tiangong. Hanji shouted loudly. After making a hand seal, he attracted the natural power of the entire Eldritch continent and swept it towards Su Fang from all directions. Boom! The power of the world of Yin and Yang shot out from Su Fang's body and covered the entire Eldritch continent. At the same time, he used the ethereal insight to penetrate the power of the world and then controlled it domineeringly. Hanji's divine light changed instantly. He dared to challenge Su Fang because he had merged with Su Fang's dojo with Hanji's help and could borrow the power of the world. Now, it was easily seized by Su Fang. How could he not be shocked? Jumping clown, even if I only have 30% of my strength left, I can still easily crush you. Su Fang displayed a towering, domineering aura and used the wings of Fire Cloud. At the same time, he controlled the power of the world and drew a line of fire in the air. In an instant, he was 100 miles away from Hanji. For a path integration cultivator, 100 miles was no different from being close at hand. Chi! Hanji's eyes revealed a panicked expression. He gritted his teeth and activated a circular divine weapon that looked like it was refined from ice. After activating it, it released a white halo that enveloped Su Fang. Azi, swallow his divine weapon's original soul. Su Fang directly released the original soul of the purple cloud magic spirit. Azi. A purple figure flashed and exploded with an amazing power of controlling magic treasures. The circular divine weapon left Hanji's control and flew into Azi's hand with a whoosh. Azi opened her mouth and sucked. A spiritual light was forcibly sucked out from the circular divine weapon and swallowed into her stomach. Too weak, Azi shook her head in dissatisfaction. She threw away the spiritless divine weapon and flew back into Su Fang's body. This circular divine weapon was a peak supreme grade divine weapon. It was also Han Ji's natal divine weapon. Since its original soul was swallowed by Azi, it was equivalent to losing half of its power. Hanji also spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Fang suddenly formed a seal. A devouring power swept out and rolled over Hanji's body. Sizzle. A large amount of blood energy gushed out from under Hanji's skin. Then his blood vessels were forcibly stripped away by Su Fang's blue sky underworld power. Then they were swallowed by Su Fang. Finally, Hanji's yang spirit flew out of his divine aperture uncontrollably. Under Su Fang's power, it collapsed layer by layer and turned into Hanji's shadow. The yang spirit of a deity was basically the soul. In other words, it was made of soul energy. After Su Fang swallowed a piece of ice soul blood fetus, the power of blue sky underworld increased greatly. In addition, Hanji was too weak. At this time, even if he did not erupt with all his power, he could still easily devour Hanji's blood energy, blood vessels, and even soul. Hanji, who had lost his blood energy, blood vessels, and yang spirit, quickly turned into a dry corpse. Su Fang, how dare you kill my clansman? Hanji roared. He opened his mouth and spat out a cold white light. It swept across like an ice river. Wherever it went, it was instantly frozen. The entire untainted land turned into a world of ice. Xuanqin shouted coldly, Hanji, you're courting death. Just as he was about to attack. Hanji, you're really courting death. A golden list appeared above Su Fang's head. Then, Emperor Sangqiu's figure quickly condensed from the list. He stretched out his finger and pointed at Hanji. In an instant, crack, 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 the world of ice quickly shattered and turned into nothingness. A large hole appeared on Hanji's head. His brain juice splattered out. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, the blood energy in Hanji's divine body surged and quickly condensed into an intact head. This was the terrifying thing about king gods. They were almost immortal. Even if important parts like the heart or the head were destroyed, and only a drop of blood or even a strand of hair was left, they could quickly recover. However, It would consume a large amount of life energy. Hanji trembled. He knew that he had lost the battle. However, he still made a final struggle. Emperor Sangxiu, I'm a king god, the master of the Earth Realm Dojo. Although you're a king god, you have no right to kill me. Sangxiu has no right to kill a king god. Then what about me? At this moment, there was a strange fluctuation in the void. It condensed into a white-robed man. It was the supreme existence of the imperial people. Hanji's entire body seemed to be frozen. He trembled and knelt down. He gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, you can naturally kill me at will. However, what I've done has not violated the laws of Yuan Tiangong. If you kill me for no reason, how can you convince the masses? The white-robed imperial people said casually, In Yuan Tiangong, I'm the heavenly Tao. Why do I need a reason to kill you? Why do I need to convince the masses? Su Fong suddenly said, Your Majesty, I have something to say. The white-robed man said, Speak. Su Fong took out the heaven-acting divine wall. After activating it, the scene of Hanji using the God-shocking bell to disturb his cultivation at the critical moment of his cultivation was demonstrated without missing a single detail. Hanji was dumbfounded. Emperor Sangxiu said coldly, Hanji, what else do you have to say? You disturbed Su Fong's cultivation. I personally saw you and warned you. However, you're so crazy. You deserve to die. Hanji shouted, Even if I'm wrong, I don't deserve to die. I just said that I don't need a reason to kill a king god. The white-robed imperial people said lightly. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sudden sound of thunder around Hanji. Immediately, lightning surged out of nothingness and turned into chains of lightning, firmly shackling Hanji. Hanji looked desperate. Since the supreme existence of the imperial people wanted to kill him, even if the emperor of the Luo clan appeared, it would be useless. You took it out specially for me to see, didn't you? The imperial people looked at Su Fong and smiled faintly. As expected of the supreme existence of the myriad heavens, he could see Su Fong's intention at a glance. Su Fong said, Your Majesty, your eyes are indeed sharp. I showed you this to let you know what kind of injustice I've suffered in Yuan Tiangong. Emperor Sangxiu said in a deep voice, Su Fong, don't be rude. Su Fong cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, there are some things that I have to say. Chapter 22:51. Su Fong asked, Sir, if I may be so bold as to ask, what is the purpose of joining forces with so many venerable sovereigns to create Yuan Tiangong? The imperial people's white-clothed expert said indifferently, There are only two purposes. The first is to provide a place for the human race to settle down when the apocalypse arrives. The second is to train geniuses to deal with the apocalypse. The most important is to select the most outstanding geniuses to enter the celestial mountain to search for the source of the upheaval and find a way to resolve it. Sir, thank you for answering my question. Su Fong cupped his fists and bowed. I, Su Fong, entered Yuan Tiangong with my own strength. Not only did I not receive the treatment I deserved, but I was also bullied time and time again. They even tried to take my life. As for the reason, it's because I'm stronger than them. My heaven-defying rise has caused some people to feel embarrassed. At the same time, I've also threatened some people's interests. Since Yuan Tiangong is the backyard of those supreme divine clans and powerful forces, what's the point of creating Yuan Tiangong? Sir, why don't you just kick a lowly genius like me out of Yuan Tiangong and leave those disciples with noble backgrounds? Su Fong said slowly with a furious look on his face. Venerable Sangxiu shouted, Su Fong, how dare you act so presumptuously in front of the supreme imperial people? Before I even entered Primordia's heavenly palace, my loved ones were nearly killed. As for me, I was punished instead and demoted from the heaven realm to the earth realm. When I was at the earth realm dojo, I would be disturbed at every critical moment of my cultivation. If I didn't have some tricks up my sleeve, I would have died long ago. The one who targeted me was the sovereign of Yuan Tiangong's earth realm dojo. I used my own hands to refine pills and forge weapons, but I was rejected in the divine pivot hall and was almost framed. My family and subordinates in the earth realm dojo were constantly harassed and even blackmailed. In my fiefdom in the Hunyuan heaven world, I was repeatedly bullied and humiliated. I went to the 10,000 spell pagoda and set an unparalleled record. When I returned to my dojo, it was occupied and they wanted to kill me while I was weak. Su Fong became angrier as he spoke. Flames surged in his eyes like a volcano that would erupt at any time. What's the point of staying in Yuan Tiangong like this? Therefore, I decided to quit Yuan Tiangong. Even if I die in the hands of resurrected powerhouses, it would be much better than being killed by others. Lord Sangxiu, thank you for your kindness towards Su Fong. Su Fong will definitely remember it. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely repay you tenfold. Farewell, Emperor. Calm to Fong, to the dojo in the center of the Imperial Emperor. Emperor Sangxiu hadn't expected Su Fong to make such a decision, and he couldn't help but be shocked. Xuanqin also turned pale with fright. He flew forward and grabbed Su Fong. The Imperial Emperor chuckled. Boy, are you done with your acting? Emperor Sangxiu was startled, but he soon understood. He shook his head and smiled, but didn't say anything. Su Fong smiled helplessly. He turned to the Imperial Emperor and cupped his hands. Lord, you are wise. My little trick can't escape your eyes. You used your doppelganger to win first place in the treasure refining and alchemy selection pageant. You also used your original body to break through the 68th floor of the 10,000 spell pagoda, shocking Yuan Tiangong. You did this to make a name for yourself and use it as your capital. Then you said that you wanted to leave Yuan Tiangong. You just wanted me to give you an explanation. Su Fong, am I right? The Imperial Emperor looked at Su Fong. A strange scene of the vast universe appeared in his eyes. Su Fong had a feeling that nothing in the world could hide from his eyes. Su Fong smiled. Lord, you are wise. The Imperial Emperor said, I came here personally to give you an explanation. The Imperial Emperor glanced at Han Ji and said, I'll leave this person to you. You can decide whether he lives or dies. Is the life of a king god enough to appease your anger? Su Fong gritted his teeth. Not enough. The Imperial Emperor nodded. You are indeed a genius that I have long thought highly of. You are also a peerless overlord of the great world. No one in the younger generation can compare to you in terms of talent, strength, ambition, and scheming. You know how to use your capital. Then, the Imperial people took out a purple gold token and flew towards Su Fong, floating in front of Su Fong. The front of the token was engraved with the image of Yuan Tiangong, as if the entire Yuan Tiangong had been integrated into it. It was incomparably vast. On the back was the word Emperor, which exuded an unparalleled majesty of the heavenly Tao. One could faintly see the shadow of this imperial people's expert contained within. Su Fong grabbed the token. This is, the imperial people said. With this token, it means that you are the one and only saint of Yuan Tiangong. Your status is above the geniuses of the Heavenly Realm Dojo and is second only to the venerable sovereigns. No one will dare to bully you anymore. Sealed within this token are 3 strands of my power. In times of crisis, it can save your life 3 times. Su Fong was shocked. He stammered, You're the holy son of Yuan Tiangong. Emperor Sangxiu cried out in surprise. Su Fong, why don't you kneel down and thank him? Su Fong hurriedly knelt down on one knee and thanked the imperial people's expert. The imperial people's expert said majestically, However, your status will not remain unchanged forever. During the 100,000-year competition, you will have to accept challenges from other geniuses. Only in this way can you maintain your status. Ha! Be careful of Di Yuan and that little girl, Goddess Luo. Don't let them take away your position as the Holy Sun. Thank you, Your Excellency. Su Fong was overjoyed. He put the token deep into his body. Su Fong, you have to fight for opportunities on your own. Continue to work hard. Don't let me down. The imperial people's expert's figure merged into the void and disappeared without trace. Emperor Sangxiu said, You're really bold. You dare to bargain with the supreme existence of the imperial people. You even have the intention to threaten him. A single look from him can destroy your soul and consign you to eternal damnation. Su Fong said confidently, "If I'm worthless, like a speck of dust in the eyes of the Supreme Existence, why would he care about me? If I'm valuable, he won't kill me." "Not bad. You see it clearly." Emperor Sangqiu nodded. He continued, "The Supreme Existence of the Imperial people has always been full of praise for you. If it weren't for his help when you converged the Tao last time, you would have definitely failed. Moreover, he personally extracted the essence of the Shaoyang Divine Sun and Shaoyin Divine Moon and put them into your Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth. Don't forget this favor. It's really him." Su Fong had long speculated that the Divine Sun and Divine Moon that appeared in the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth were the doing of the Supreme Existence of the Imperial people. However, he didn't dare to be sure. Now that he was finally sure that it was him, he couldn't help but feel grateful. In fact, Su Fong was also very clear that the Supreme Existence of the Imperial people helped him with the purpose of letting Su Fong contribute to the Yuan Tiangong in the future. However, he had to remember this great favor in his heart. Emperor Sangqiu's expression suddenly became serious. He said majestically, "Su Fong, from today onwards, you will no longer have any fetters or restrictions in the Yuan Tiangong. You should do your best to improve your strength. That is your capital. Otherwise, everything will be for naught. Do you understand?" "Yes. I'm going now. If you have any problems in your cultivation, you can contact me with runes. You can also go to Emperor One Dao." Emperor Sangqiu rolled out a rune and then disappeared from the primordial chaos golden roll. The primordial chaos golden roll also quickly shrank and disappeared into the void. Su Fong cupped his fists and bowed in the direction where Sangqiu disappeared. His heart was filled with gratitude. Emperor Sangqiu did not give him any treasures or status like the Supreme Existence of the Imperial people. However, Su Fong could see that the two Emperor Masters, Sangqiu and Wei Dao, were genuinely concerned about him. Moreover, this kind of care was purely out of appreciation for him and did not have any ulterior motives. This made Su Fong feel extremely grateful. "Congratulations, Saint Su Fong." Xuanqing flew over and cupped his fist to Su Fong seriously. "No need for formalities," Su Fong said majestically. The divine light wrapped around Xuanqing's body. Then he said, "I'm physically and mentally exhausted. Accompany me in dual cultivation and help me recover. Do you want to call Goddess Luo over to serve you together?" Xuanqing revealed an angry expression, and her face instantly flushed red. She had a rare shy expression, which made Su Fong's body suddenly surge and burn. Su Fong grabbed at Han Ji and took him into his body from his palm, sealing him in the Golden Rainbow King's world. Then, Su Fong held Xuanqing's hand and flew back to the palace. When they arrived at the depths of the palace, Su Fong created a formation and had a wild time. QL11 after an unknown period of time. Who knew how many ups and downs he had gone through? Xuanqing, who was usually as cold as an iceberg, nestled in Su Fong's arms, not wanting to move at all. After this dual cultivation, Su Fong had recovered a little. However, he was still far from his peak state. He closed his eyes and circulated the power of the yin-yang world in his body, fusing with Xuanqing's ice phoenix aura. After a long time, Xuanqing finally recovered some strength. She rolled her eyes at Su Fong, stood up, and put on a robe. "You bad guy, always torturing me like this. I'll call Goddess Luo over later and let her have a taste of her own medicine," Xuanqing said through gritted teeth, looking as if she still had lingering fears. Su Fong chuckled, stood up, and pulled Xuanqing into his arms. "In a few days, I'll propose marriage to the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan." Xuanqing was stunned, and her eyes became misty. In the 10,000 years since she entered the Yuan Tiangong, Su Fong had endured and settled down. Someone in the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan had proposed marriage with the Imperial people again. Fortunately, Xuanqing was now a genius in the heavenly realm, and the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan did not dare to force her. However, Xuanqing was still under great pressure, and it had been weighing on her heart. Now that Su Fong had soared into the sky, The divine phoenix ancient clan had no reason to stop her. Finally, the clouds were cleared and the sky was clear. Xuanqin asked, "What about Goddess Luo?" Su Fong felt a little guilty and said, "After dealing with some things, I'll go see her elders." Xuanqin did not say anything else. Su Fong knew that there were still some barriers in her heart that could not be removed in a short time. He could only take one step at a time. Chapter 2252. Xuanqin smoothed her messy long hair and said with a smile, "Although the supreme existence of the imperial people has conferred you the title of Holy Son, you have also become the target of public criticism, especially Di Yuan. If you have any treasures, you should keep them for yourself. Increasing your strength is the most important." "That's right. The supreme existence of the imperial people has raised me up high, but once I fall, I will be smashed to pieces," Su Fong nodded and said. Then he smiled lightly and hugged Xuanqin's waist from behind. He leaned into her hair and took a deep breath, saying, "No matter how precious the treasures are, they can't compare to your position in my heart. Even if I have to give you all of me, I am willing." Xuanqin's eyes were filled with joy. She pursed her lips and smiled. "You have a glib tongue. How come I didn't realize you were such a person when I was in the constellation of 9 heavens? It must be because I often deceived women after I ascended to the myriad realms. That's how I learned it." Su Fong was speechless for a while and quickly changed the topic. "The gift I gave you is not worth much. You will know later. Go to another room to rest first. I will come to you in a few days." After Xuanqin left, Su Fong waved his hand and rolled out a Xian Guang, releasing Han Ji from the world in his body. "Your Highness Su Fong, no. Holy Son Su Fong, No, I was deceived by Luo Xingtian. That's why I've been targeting Holy Son. It was not my intention." Han Ji was shackled by the white-clothed imperial people. At this moment, he was like an ordinary person. Other than being able to speak, he could do nothing else. Now that his life was in the hands of Su Fong, he no longer had the domineering and majestic aura of a king god. The supreme existence of the imperial people had personally taken action. Hanji now realized that the Luo clan would not save him. Even if they wanted to, they were powerless. No one could defy the will of the supreme existence of the imperial people, including the Emperor Realm Masters of the Luo clan. At this moment, his only chance of survival was in the hands of Su Fong. Hanji had no choice but to beg for mercy. "You're a mighty overgod, yet you're willing to become Luo Xingtian's dog. What's the point of keeping you around?" Su Fong said majestically. There was only killing intent in his tone and eyes. Hanji said in a trembling voice, "I am willing to submit to you and become your slave. I will go through fire and water for you. With your strength, you do have the qualifications to become my subordinate. However, with your character, you will betray me sooner or later. I will definitely not leave a huge hidden danger by my side." It wasn't that Su Fong hadn't thought of turning Frostplant into a puppet. However, Frostplant was too powerful and had a despicable personality. It would be difficult to control him, so he might as well use him for another purpose. Hanji immediately panicked. He shouted sternly, "Su Fong, I am a king god expert. If you dare to kill me, you will definitely attract the hatred of the Yuan Tiangong experts. The Luo clan will definitely not let you go. You can't stop a dog from eating shit." After Su Fong formed the seal, his physical body collapsed and transformed into the blue sky underworld state. The blood water circled around Frostplant and whistled. The blood dome also released its divine aura and quickly devoured Frostplant's blood energy. As expected of a king god expert, his divine body was extremely powerful. Su Fong used a total of 3 years to shatter the defense of Frostplant's divine body. What came next was relatively easier. Frostplant was burned and swept by the blood water again and again. His skin fell off layer by layer, followed by his flesh and bones. "Su Fong, you actually used a demonic technique to devour me. You'll die a horrible death." Frostplant was still not dead. He let out a series of angry roars filled with fear and despair. Gradually, Frostplant's divine body slowly melted like ice. It turned into blood water and was instantly devoured by the surging blood water. His yang spirit also shattered layer by layer and was absorbed by the blood dome. How powerful was the physical body of a king god expert? Every drop of blood was the essence of life. As Su Fong devoured more and more life essence, the surrounding blood flames became more and more terrifying. They swept and shook like raging waves crashing against the shore. The blood dome above was densely covered with blood clouds. They tumbled and undulated, forming a world of life and death with the blood water. The entire blue sky underworld was burning with the flames of life that shocked even Su Fong. Frost Plant's roars gradually subsided. He couldn't be more dead. His divine body and yang spirit melted layer by layer and merged into Su Fong's blood water. From this moment on, his physical body, yang spirit, vital qi, and even the great Tao he cultivated all became Su Fong's. QL11, this was the terrifying part of the blue sky underworld. It could even devour a king god. Su Fong used the power of the yin-yang world to condense Frost Plant's life essence into blood crystals. The life energy of a king god expert was boundless. Even with Su Fong's perfect physical body, it was difficult for him to completely absorb it. Not only could the blood crystals help the big goblin cultivate, but they could also be swallowed like elixirs when he was injured in the future to quickly recover his life energy. Moreover, the blood crystals contained Su Fong's yin and yang powers. He and Xuanqin were dual cultivating, so Xuanqin also had the yin and yang powers. Therefore, he could also absorb the life essence in the blood crystals. Although he couldn't use it to increase his cultivation, he could use it to heal his injuries. At the same time, Su Fong also fused Frost Plant's divine essence with the yin and yang powers, condensing it into balls of energy. Frost Plant cultivated the great Tao of ice. The balls of energy formed by his cultivation looked like ice crystals. Not only did they contain boundless ice essence, but they also contained the great Tao of ice. They were extremely beneficial to Xuanqin's cultivation. Su Fong didn't waste Frost Plant's divine essence. He used it to cultivate the immortal soul code and improve his divine essence. About 10 years later, Frost Plant completely disappeared from the blue sky underworld. This meant that Frost Plant no longer existed in this world. Su Fong returned to his physical state and carefully sensed his body. He was shocked to discover that after devouring a portion of Frost Plant's cultivation, blood energy, and divine essence, his vitality and blood energy were extremely boundless. He had reached the level of a peak Tao integration stage true god. Not only did his cultivation recover to its peak state in a short period of time, but it also reached the normal state of a Tao integration stage third heaven cultivator and was climbing toward its peak state. It should be known that it was extremely difficult for Tao integration stage true gods to improve their cultivation. It required a long period of accumulation and a large amount of resources. Su Fong had made such an astonishing improvement in a mere dozen years. It was truly shocking. However, only Su Fong could use this method. The main reason was because of the devouring ability of the blue sky underworld and the vast and boundless world in his body. If it were other true gods, not to mention the serious consequences of absorbing another true god's cultivation, Frost Plant's terrifying cultivation was enough to cause any Tao integration stage true god's divine abode to explode and die. Using Frost Plant's divine essence to cultivate the immortal soul code allowed Su Fong's divine essence to improve by a large margin. It was comparable to the achievement of 10,000 years of hard work. It's time to deal with those clowns in the Yellow Realm Dojo and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. In Luo Xingtian, Su Fong walked out of the erase space. The token in his body suddenly vibrated. When he took out the token, there was a thought from Xiao Wanting, an emperor in charge of punishment in the Yuan Tiangong. Holy Son Su Fong, the Luo clan is willing to pay a price as compensation to resolve the grudge between you and Luo Xingtian. An expert from the Luo clan is currently in the punishment hall. He wants you to come to the punishment hall to discuss with him. Resolve. A fierce aura surged in Su Fong's heart. It was Luo Xingtian who had gone too far. He had pressured Su Fong step by step and even wanted to kill Su Fong. It was Luo Xingtian who had humiliated Su Fong. How could there be a resolution? The Luo clan had used the punishment hall to order Su Fong around. It was obvious that they did not take Su Fong seriously. Su Fong sent out a thought. Luo Xingtian has framed me in every way. As the holy son of the Yuan Tiangong, I request the punishment hall to investigate Luo Xingtian strictly. Xiao Wanting's thought came again. The punishment hall will definitely investigate and give an explanation to Su Fong's holy son. It seems that my identity as the holy son is still very useful. Xiao Wanting's attitude had obviously changed. Before entering the Yuan Tiangong, in the punishment hall of the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, Xiao Wanting had killed the undead king and punished Su Fong. How domineering was that? But now, he was somewhat polite to Su Fong. It was because of a change brought about by Su Fong's identity. Su Fong was about to put away the token when he saw the number of merit points on it. His eyes suddenly flashed. Previously, Su Fong had earned a lot of points from refining pills, but they were quickly spent. There are not many points left. At this time, the token showed that there were more than 400,000 points. This was a shocking number. Su Fong quickly figured out the source of these points. He had won 100,000 points from a bet with Luo Xingtian. First place in the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda, he had won another 100,000 points each. In addition, he had set a record in the 10,000 Spell Pagoda and was rewarded with another 100,000 points. Su Fong was very happy. With so many points, I could buy a lot of good things. Unfortunately, Su Fong did not get the medicinal cauldrons, weapon cauldrons, and other generous reward from the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selection ceremony, unless he joined either the weapon cauldrons or the Pill Pagoda. He came to Xuanxin's room and took out 7 crystals condensed from frost plants and a dozen blood crystals. Xuanxin did not stand on ceremony and put away the crystals and blood crystals. Naturally, she was very happy. Although these things were not as good as those creation spiritual items, they were of great use to her cultivation. She was at the critical moment of unification. She had the Ice Phoenix real body, which brought her supreme talent, but at the same time, unification became very difficult. With these cultivation resources, the chance of unification increased by at least 10%. Su Fong said, "Xuanxin, go back to the Heavenly Realm Training Hall and prepare for unification. I will go to the Yellow Realm Training Hall and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm to deal with some things. I will help you when the time comes. I don't know how long I will be in seclusion for unification this time. Let's go see Grandpa first, then go back to the Heavenly Realm Training Hall." So the two left the Earthly Realm Training Hall and went straight to the Yellow Realm Training Hall through the space array. Su Fong won first place in the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selection. He shocked the world by breaking through the 10,000 Spell Pagoda and was conferred the title of Saint by the Imperial people. The news had already spread throughout the Yuan Tiangong. Xianlingzi and the others naturally gave up the idea of leaving and stayed in the Yellow Realm Training Hall. In the past few years, those Yellow Realm geniuses who had extorted Su Fong's subordinates came to apologize and returned all the money they had extorted. When Su Fong and Xuanxin arrived, Xianlingzi, Qingyu, Bai Ling, and the others were all in ecstasy. Everyone was elated. In the future, who would dare to bully them at will in the Yuan Tiangong? Chapter 2253. Xianlingzi said, "Su Fong, let bygones be bygones. After all, you still have a foothold in Yuan Tiangong. If you make too many enemies, it will be extremely disadvantageous for you. Moreover, you will also have a reputation of bullying others. The gains do not make up for the losses. The anger you suffered in the past will pass after a while. My Su Fong has always been someone who punches me once, I will punch back 10 times. If someone bullies me, I will step on his head. If I let bygones be bygones this time, if something happens to me in the future, won't they come back again and ride on my head again? As for reputation, haha, I want those people to be afraid and tremble when they hear my name. I, Su Fong, want everyone to remember that whoever dares to stretch out their claws to me, I will break one of their arms, so that they will never dare to stretch out their claws again. Su Fong regained his deep gaze and showed the aura of a great world overlord. Bai Ling rolled up his sleeves and said with a smile, "Sister loves bullying others the most." Qingyu snorted with a murderous look. Su Fong is right. We should teach those snobs a lesson. It's best to swallow them directly. Su Fong displayed his divine power and projected his voice to every corner of the Yellow Territory Training Hall. I, Su Fong, order all the Yellow Territory geniuses who bully my family and friends to come and admit their mistakes within 10 days. I will not wait for you if you are late. As if the voice of the heavenly Tao was echoing in the Yellow Territory Training Hall, the huge Yellow Territory Training Hall suddenly became silent. On the first day, 100 people came to Su Fong's territory one after another. They were all instigated and lured by Luo Xingtian to come to Su Fong's territory to extort and even bully Su Fong's subordinates. At this time, these arrogant Yellow Territory geniuses were all trembling, fearing that disaster would befall them. Greetings, Su Fong's saint. Hundreds of Yellow Territory geniuses bowed to Su Fong in the sky above the territory. Su Fong's indifferent voice came from the mountain peak in the middle of the material continent. Come in. Many Yellow Realm geniuses flew to the top of the mountain and landed on the square. When they saw Su Fong, Xian Lingzi, and the others, as well as the big goblin, Huang Jing nodded and bowed. They were all obedient and docile. A Yellow Realm genius stepped forward and humbly bowed. We were previously forced by Luo Xingtian to do some outrageous things. Please forgive us, Saint Son of Su Fong. The other Yellow Realm geniuses also voiced their opinions. Forced by Luo Xingtian? Is it just some outrageous actions? Su Fong snorted inexplicably. I don't care if you were coerced, lured, or bullied. I only know that the people in my fief were bullied. The leader of the Yellow Territory geniuses gritted his teeth and said, "We have already apologized to Senior Xian Ling and the others." Su Fong sneered. "Do you want me to kill you and apologize to your family? If apologizing and apologizing works, then what's the use of those heaven punishers in Yuan Tiangong?" The leader of the Yellow Territory geniuses said, "We should be lenient whenever possible. We are all Yuan Tiangong geniuses." "It's a small world," Bai Ling shouted domineeringly. "When you came to bully us, Senior Xian Ling was very humble to you. Why don't I see you being lenient whenever possible?" The leader said, "Saint Son of Su Fong, what do you think?" Su Fong said casually, "We will compensate you 10 times the amount of the extorted money. Those who attacked you should cut off one of your arms and kneel down to apologize." The Yellow Territory geniuses were in an uproar. "Su Fong, you are too overbearing. You are too much. So what if you're the Saint Son of Yuan Tiangong? Do you think you are above the Yuan Tiangong Punishment Hall? Let's go to the Punishment Hall to judge." All the Yellow Territory geniuses were furious, especially those who had fought with Qingyu and Bai Ling. They were all furious. Su Fong said indifferently, "All of you may leave. However, in 10 days, I will personally go to all of your dojos to seek justice. At that time, all of you will have to pay an even greater price." Xuanqin said coldly, "Hanji, the leader of the Earth Territory Dojo, a king god, was just killed by Su Fong. Even if he kills you, the Punishment Hall won't care about it. If you don't know the difference between life and death, you'd better think carefully about the consequences." Hundreds of Yellow Territory geniuses turned into ice sculptures in an instant. Everyone felt a chill from the bottom of their hearts. Xian Lingzi and the others were also shocked. A king god was considered a top existence in the universe. In Yuan Tiangong, he was also considered a high-level existence. Su Fong had killed a king god. How powerful did he need to be? After that, he was not punished in Yuan Tiangong. How powerful was that? They didn't know that Hanji had been sealed by a supreme existence of the imperial people and given to Su Fong to do whatever he wanted. Otherwise, even a venerable emperor couldn't casually kill a Yuan Tiangong king god. The leading Yellow Territory genius immediately knelt down. "I was instigated by Luo Xingtian to fight with the demonic rock under Su Fong Saint and take 10,000 top-grade pills from Senior Xian Lingzi. I'm willing to be punished. After that, He waved his hand and cut off his left arm. A Xian Guang circled around his left arm and fell to the ground. Blood spurted out. Sizzle. The yellow territory genius activated his blood chi and quickly formed a new left arm. It looked intact, but his life force was much weaker. Then he took out a storage ring and flew to Su Fong. Su Fong caught the storage ring and looked inside with his consciousness. There were indeed 100,000 top-grade pills inside. He nodded and said, "Everything is settled. Thank you, Su Fong Saint." The yellow territory genius hurriedly left Su Fong's territory, as if he had been pardoned. Then, the remaining 100 or so yellow territory geniuses obediently took out all kinds of compensation. Those geniuses who had attacked Su Fong's subordinates knelt down and admitted their mistakes. They also cut off their own arms. After all the yellow territory geniuses were dealt with, there were more than 30 arms on the square. They were directly swallowed by Qingyu and became his delicious meal. Xian Lingzi and the others were frightened, but at the same time, they were elated. Bai Ling clapped and laughed. "Awesome, this is awesome. In the past 10,000 years, more than 300 people have come to my territory to extort money and humiliate my subordinates. Some have even come many times. Today, only 100 or so have come. After 10 days, if they still don't come, I'll pay them a visit." Su Fong said domineeringly. Qingyu said, "That's right. We can't let those shameless people go." 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. There were still 17 people who had not come to Su Fong's territory to be punished. On this day, Su Fong left his territory alone. Lien Tiancheng. Su Fong projected his sensing power and landed on a material continent. He sneered disdainfully. "Do you think that just because you have some relationship with Sanskrit, Su Fong won't dare to do anything to you?" Su Fong took a step and disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was already in the sky above a material continent tens of millions of miles away. Heavenly Tao fusion could merge the divine body with the heavenly Tao and borrow the power of the heavenly Tao to instantly travel through the endless void. Su Fong was already at the third heaven of Tao fusion stage and had this ability. This was also the huge difference between the Tao fusion stage and the divine venerable stage. Seeing the powerful barrier around the material continent, Su Fong raised his eyebrows and took out the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. It had been a long time since he used the sky-piercing rainbow shuttle. Now that Su Fong activated it with his Tao fusion stage cultivation base, its power was pushed to the extreme. A golden rainbow was projected into the material continent and forcibly passed through the barrier with Su Fong's figure. It did not pose any obstacle to Su Fong. Sensing an aura in a palace at the peak of the central mountain, Su Fong directly used the power of the world to descend and shroud the palace. Then, he grabbed the air and pulled a young man with thick eyebrows and big eyes to his side. "Su Fong, This young man was the first Yellow Realm genius that Su Fong was looking for. His name was Lien Tiancheng, and his cultivation base was at the seventh heaven of the divine venerable stage. He was considered extraordinary among the Yellow Realm geniuses. Moreover, Lien Tiancheng was a relative of the ancient god world Sanskrit. Otherwise, he would not have dared to ignore Su Fong's order. He did not expect Su Fong to be so bold as to break into his training ground and capture him. He also did not expect Su Fong's strength to be far beyond his imagination. The strength that he was so proud of was like a weak chicken in front of Su Fong. Su Fong stretched out his right palm, and a devouring power burst out. A stream of blood qi spurted out from Lien Tiancheng's body. A magic treasure was hidden in the blood qi. It was a king-grade magic treasure that surpassed the peak of the supreme grade. A king-grade magic treasure and 1/5 of the blood qi. It's barely enough to compensate. Su Fong sneered and waved his hand to throw Lien Tiancheng back into the training ground, as if he was throwing a straw. Then, he left in embarrassment. A hysterical roar came from the training ground. "Su Fong, you and I are irreconcilable enemies. The Supreme Sanskrit will never let you go." Su Fong followed the same pattern and broke into more than a dozen training grounds of the Yellow Realm geniuses. Then he devoured 1/5 of the blood chi and plundered their magic treasures and resources. Su Fang stopped. A thunderous shout came. Then a Yuan Tiangong expert broke through the air. This person was a middle-aged man. His strength had reached the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. His identity was the supreme of the Yellow Realm training ground. QL11th, the middle-aged man, shouted angrily, Su Fang, this is my Yellow Realm training ground. How can you be so presumptuous? What do you think the Yuan Tiangong law is? Su Fang said indifferently, I'm just here to collect my debt. How am I presumptuous? The middle-aged man sneered. You injured so many Yellow Realm geniuses and plundered their magic treasures and resources. This is your way of collecting your debt. How can I just stand by and watch you humiliate the Yellow Realm geniuses? Su Fang stared at the sovereign of the Yellow Boundary Dao right. In the past, when my family and friends were bullied and humiliated in my land, why did Lord Sovereign stand idly by and do nothing? Why did you ignore the laws of Primordius Heavenly Palace? Now that you have jumped out, I can't help but suspect that you are the one behind all of this. Chapter 2254. The sovereign of the Yellow Territory Dojo had received a lot of benefits from Luo Xingtian, so he turned a blind eye to the things that happened in Su Fang's fief. However, he was not the mastermind behind those Yellow Territory geniuses. Su Fang naturally knew about this, or else why would he be so polite to him? Su Fang took out a token. It was the saint's token that was given to him by the imperial people. As the token was taken out, it released an unrivaled divine might, as if it could easily stir up the power of the heavenly Tao within the entirety of Primordius Heavenly Palace. The terrifying pressure that was released caused even the sovereign of the Yellow Realm Tao right to tremble, losing all will to resist. Get lost, or else you will end up like Hanji. Su Fang shouted. His voice exploded with a shocking divine power with the help of the token, causing the middle-aged man to retreat. He also knew that if he stayed any longer, he would not have a good ending. He immediately suppressed his anger and left quickly. Next, Su Fang continued to visit the remaining geniuses and then returned with a rewarding journey. The news of Su Fang punishing those Yellow Territory Dojo geniuses quickly spread throughout the Yellow Territory Dojo and then to the entire Yuan Tiangong, causing a huge commotion. Mere Yellow Territory geniuses, thinking that Su Fang was in dire straits, and bullied his family and friends. Now that Su Fang is settling the score, they deserve it. QL11, it was Luo Xingtian who went too far. He wanted to step on Su Fang's head, but he didn't expect to kick an iron plate this time. Not only those Yellow Territory geniuses who were instigated by him, but even he will be unlucky. Su Fang has only been appointed as the saint son of Primordius Heavenly Palace for just a few days, and yet he dares to be so arrogant and despotic, using his status to bully others. Why hasn't Primordius Heavenly Palace punished him? Let's wait and see. This time, among the Yellow Territory geniuses who were bullied by Su Fang, most of them were from the ancient God world, and some of them were from the ancient God world, disciples of the top forces. How can the forces behind them not take revenge? Su Fang is just a villain intoxicated by success. He won't last long. Sooner or later, he will be suppressed by a powerful force. Everyone was discussing animatedly, praising and criticizing Su Fang's actions. However, there was one thing in common, and that was that everyone who heard this news was shocked by Su Fang's ruthlessness and decisiveness. No matter how much they hated the Su Fang, no matter how much they talked behind their backs, every time the name Su Fang was mentioned, their hearts would tremble. In particular, Hanji's death had shaken the many powerhouses of Primordius Heavenly Palace. Although Overgod Masters were not as rare as emperors in the universe, Overgod Masters were still as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns compared to the countless number of gods. Furthermore, they were supreme existences that many masters looked up to. Su Fang had actually suppressed a king god master, and none of the numerous emperor realm masters had intervened. This shocked all the masters in Yuan Tiangong. It was especially so for Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. When he heard the news, he announced that he would enter seclusion to refine Dharma treasures. Clearly, he was frightened by the frost plant. After Su Fong returned to his fief, he gave all the plundered resources to Xian Lingzi and asked him to distribute them to the others. He spent nearly 100,000 merit points to exchange for a large amount of resources, as well as cultivation methods and remarkable powers for his 10,000 subordinates to practice. As for Qingyu and Bai Ling, they enjoyed special treatment. Each of them was given 10 blood crystals condensed from the life essence of the frost plant. With such resources and the cultivation environment of the Yellow Territory, the strength of the 10,000 subordinates that Su Fong brought into Yuan Tiangong would definitely improve by leaps and bounds, especially by Ling and Qingyu. Although their improvement speed was not as fast as Su Fong's, it was definitely not much slower. Then Su Fong and Xuanxin left the Yellow Territory and walked out of Yuan Tiangong for the first time. Outside Yuan Tiangong, the natural aura of heaven and earth was very different from inside. Su Fong and Xuanxin came out of Yuan Tiangong, so this feeling was especially obvious. Su Fong thought to himself, I have to find a way to let Father and the others become deities as soon as possible so that they can withstand the natural forces of heaven and earth in the heavenly realm. Then, I will bring them all into Yuan Tiangong. Now that I have so many merit points, it will be easy for me to get a place to enter Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong and Xuanxin went directly to the punishment hall of the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Su Fong's current status was that of Yuan Tiangong's holy son, who was above the geniuses of heavenly realm dojos. His status was second only to venerable sovereigns and even higher than ordinary overgods. Xuanxin was also a genius of heavenly realm dojos. When the two of them arrived at the punishment hall master, who was from the imperial people, and many law enforcement elders all came out to greet them respectfully. May I ask why Holy Son Su Fong and Her Highness Huang Xuanxin have come to the punishment hall? The punishment hall master asked very politely. Back then, the punishment hall master was high and mighty in front of Su Fong. How impressive was that? But now, he was very careful everywhere. Su Fong couldn't help but sigh at the importance of status. No wonder so many people were obsessed with power and put cultivation in a secondary position. Su Fong said indifferently, This holy son has returned to the Hunyuan Heaven Realm to deal with some matters. I hope that the punishment hall master can take care of me. The punishment hall master smiled embarrassedly and said, The holy son was personally conferred by the supreme existence of our race. Not only are you the holy son of Yuan Tiangong, but you are also the holy son of the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. If there is anything, the punishment hall will naturally help you. How can you say that you're taking care of me? Thank you, punishment hall master. Su Fong cupped his fists and thanked the punishment hall master. Just as he was about to leave the punishment hall with Xuanxin, a majestic voice came from outside the hall. Su Fong, wait. A skinny old man in a starry robe flashed into the hall. He was an overgod expert. The punishment hall master raised his white eyebrows and cupped his fists. Grand Elder Luo, why are you here? The skinny old man nodded and then looked at Su Fong with disdain. I am Luo Yunshun from the Luo clan. This time, I represent the Luo clan to resolve the grudge between you and my clan's geniuses. You were young, but you put on quite a lot of airs. Even Emperor Xiao couldn't persuade you. I can only make a trip personally. Su Fong sneered. The Luo clan's method of reconciliation is indeed a little strange. I dare not accept it. Luo Yunshun stroked his yellow beard and said coldly, Su Fong, tell me your conditions. We'll make you reconcile. Reconcile? Luo Xingtian has been trying to kill me. Now, Grand Elder Luo actually came to me to reconcile. The Luo clan is really overbearing. I'm sorry, Su Fong is not the kind of person who will resist even if his head is stepped on. The Luo clan will not be able to do whatever you want in Yuan Tiangong. I will not accept this so-called reconciliation. Su Fong pulled Xuanxin and walked out of the hall. Luo Yunshun's eyes seemed to be burning with 2 stars, emitting a boundless divine aura. Su Fong snorted and looked at Luo Yunshun with a mocking gaze. If he dared to make a move, the fate of being suppressed by an overgod expert would be waiting for him. Luo Yunshun withdrew his divine aura and snorted. Fine, my clan will take a step back. We are willing to take out a royal gray divine artifact as compensation. The matter between you and Luo Xingtian will be resolved. The Luo clan's royal gray divine artifact is really valuable. It is even more valuable than Luo Xingtian's life. Su Fong mocked and ridiculed as he walked out. Luo Yunshun suppressed his anger. Su Fong, my clan has already expressed enough sincerity. Don't think that you can go against the Luo clan just because you are recognized by the supreme existence of the imperial people. Su Fong acted as if he did not hear Luo Yunshun's words and turned a deaf ear. Luo Yunshun said, "What do you want?" Su Fong stopped in his tracks. "Compensate me for the death of my subordinate and restore the destroyed spiritual abode of the Hanshor Realm Lord. These are the most basic conditions. Otherwise, there is nothing to talk about." Luo Yunshun was so angry that he laughed. "Su Fong, do you really think that you are an overgod just because you have the title of saint? At most, we will compensate you with a half-creatable divine artifact." Su Fong pulled Xuanxin and walked out of the punishment hall without looking back. Luo Yunshun's murderous voice rang out from the hall. "Su Fong, you have the protection of the overgod, but your family and friends do not." Su Fong suddenly stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Luo Yunshun. "If the Luo clan dares to touch my family and friends, I will kill 100 Luo clan members for each of them they hurt. If they kill my family and friends, I will kill 10,000 Luo clan members for each of them they hurt." Luo Yunshun sneered. "Shameless. You can give it a try," Su Fong said with a murderous look. "I might not be able to go against the Luo clan now, but I have other ways. Before entering the celestial worthy mountain, I can propose to the supreme existence of the imperial people to exterminate the Luo clan. I believe the imperial people will not mind exterminating the Luo clan for the sake of the universe." Xuanxin continued coldly. "Su Fong's family is also my family. If the Luo clan dares to touch them, I will also propose the same conditions when I am lucky enough to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Also, the Luo clan should not forget that Su Fong has another Dao companion. Su Fong's family and friends are also her family and friends." With that, the two of them left side by side. Flames burned in Luo Yunshun's eyes, and a terrifying aura filled the surroundings. Not only was he angry, but he was also frightened by Su Fong and Xuanxin's ruthlessness. As the Luo clan's grand elder, he knew many things that ordinary people did not know. Naturally, he was very clear that many thearchs had already determined that among the Yuan Tiangong geniuses, only Di Yuan, Su Fong, and Goddess Luo were qualified to enter the celestial worthy mountain. Moreover, Su Fong had the highest possibility. If he really angered Su Fong, he would disregard the consequences and propose such conditions before entering the celestial worthy mountain. The supreme existence of the imperial people would agree without hesitation. Although the Luo clan also had thearchs when it came to the survival of the universe, not only the imperial people, but other thearchs would also make the same choice. The punishment hall master coughed and said slowly, "The conflict between Su Fong and Luo Xingtian is just a dispute between juniors. Why do you have to make a big deal out of it? Grand Elder Luo, you have to think carefully. Su Fong and his two Dao companions, especially Goddess Luo, are people that even the supreme existence of my clan has to treat seriously. It is impossible for the Luo clan to bow down to a Dao integration cultivator." Luo Yunshun snorted and left the punishment hall. Chapter 2255. They arrived outside the heaven realm. Su Fong used his great perfection stage ability to sweep across the surrounding space. The heaven-suppressing pillar that Sanskrit used to plunder the spirit energy of the heaven realm was nowhere to be seen. "Sanskrit, do you think you'll be fine after removing the heaven-suppressing pillar? I'll deal with you later." Su Fong looked at the god realm, where Sanskrit was, his eyes cold. Although he had killed Fan Shu, it didn't mean that the grudge between Su Fong and Sanskrit was over. However, the grudge between them was far greater than the Luo clans. It couldn't be easily resolved. Su Fong and Goddess Luo had killed Sanskrit's ancestor and ruined Sanskrit's plan. It seemed that Sanskrit of the Brahma god realm had done it, but it was actually Sanskrit of the ancient god realm who had plotted it in secret. Moreover, Su Fong had stolen Sanskrit's half-creation divine artifact. With such a deep grudge, Sanskrit would never let it go. Su Fong wouldn't give up on revenge against Sanskrit either. Su Fong and Xuanxin entered the great realm together. The Blue Dome Domain Lord and the others came out to greet them. Greetings, Holy Son Su Fong. The Blue Dome Domain Lord, Zhu Yanjun, Qi Shao Shunjun, and the other experts of the Blue Dome Domain cupped their fists and bowed to Su Fong. Su Fong had passed the 68th floor of the 10,000 spell tower, which meant that he had the strength to fight or even defeat an ordinary master god. He had already surpassed the Blue Dome Domain Lord and the other experts. Moreover, Su Fong had received the favor of the supreme existence of the monarch clan and had been conferred the title of Holy Prince. His status wasn't something that the Blue Sky Domain Lord and the others could compare to. At this moment, the Blue Sky Domain Lord and the others were filled with reverence in front of Su Fong. Master is mighty. Holy Son Su Fong is mighty. Su Fong's subordinates in the Sky World, as well as the people of the Shu clan, knew that Su Fong had returned to the Sky World. They all erupted in cheers, their voices shaking the sky. Su Fong and Xuanxin entered the Square Heaven realm first to pay their respects to their fathers Su Yaotian and Xianing Tian. Su Yaotian and the others already knew that Su Fong had been conferred the title of Yuan Tiangong's Holy Son, a title that reigned above the disciples of the four great dojos. Moreover, he possessed strength equivalent to a Lord God, so they were naturally shocked and gratified. Due to the limitations of their talents, apart from Li Haojie, Zhang Rian, and a few other geniuses, the rest of the family, friends, and subordinates he brought from the outside world had limited achievements after entering the divine world. This was especially true for Su Yaotian and Xianing Tian. They had already passed the golden age of cultivation. It was easy to use various spiritual items to help them extend their lifespans. However, it was impossible for them to become powerhouses of the myriad worlds. But so what? Su Yaotian had Su Fong as his son, and Xianing Tian was even more impressive. Apart from Su Fong, there was also Xuanxin. Even if it was difficult for them to achieve much in their cultivation, they were already satisfied. Su Fong used the great Tao of time to create a large array, allowing Su Yaotian and the others to enter the array to cultivate so that they could become true gods as soon as possible. After a brief reunion with his family and friends, Su Fong met with Xu Yunkong, Fan Ming, and the Blue Dome Domain Lord. After asking about what had happened in the past few years, Su Fong's face gradually darkened. Over the past few years, the Big Dipper sect had poached more than 100,000 experts from the Square Heaven realm. Less than 50,000 were left, and those who were poached were the true experts. This was also because before Su Fong entered the Yuan Tiangong, he had not used the sealing seed to shackle these newly recruited subordinates. His subordinates being poached was not the most serious matter. What was more serious was that due to the influence of Sanskrit's heaven-suppressing pillar, the speed of the true gods in the Square Heaven was not even half of that of the other god realms in the Hunyuan Heaven. Su Fong won first place in the Artifact Hall and Pill Pagoda selection, passed the 68th level of the 10,000 Spell Pagoda, and was conferred the title of Saint of the Yuan Tiangong. After the news spread, not only did Sanskrit immediately take back the heaven-suppressing pillar, but some of the experts poached by the Big Dipper sect also returned. There were also countless experts who came to join the Big Dipper sect, but they were all rejected by Xu Yunkong. They would wait for Su Fong to return before making a decision. As for the experts who stayed, Su Fong naturally rewarded them handsomely. He also decided to select some of them, as long as they were willing to accept Su Fong's seal and bring them to the Yuan Tiangong's yellow domain. At the same time, he also selected some of his former subordinates and members of the Shu clan. A total of 50,000 people would be brought to the Yuan Tiangong. These people would be trained as elites. Su Fong now had more than 300,000 merit points, which seemed like a lot. It would be quite difficult to support such a large group of people in the Yuan Tiangong. However, Su Fong won first place in the Pill Pagoda and Artifact Hall selections. Now, whether it was the elixirs or Dharma treasures that they refined, they were all very valuable. With an extremely stable source of income, they could support so many people. Moreover, Su Fong did not bring so many people to enjoy life in the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong provided them with the best cultivation environment and resources, and each of them must have the ability to earn merit points. They could either learn how to refine elixirs, forge weapons, or use their own strength to accept various missions to earn merit points. This was also a kind of cultivation. The Blue Dome Domain Lord also planned to bring some people to the Yuan Tiangong. However, in order to establish a foothold in the Yuan Tiangong, they must first rely on Su Fong. Otherwise, even if they had a quota to enter the Yuan Tiangong, they would not be able to last long. With Su Fong's protection, they would not be bullied by other forces. Of course, Su Fong would not help for free. When the experts brought by the Blue Dome Domain Lord entered the Yuan Tiangong, Su Fong would take 30% of the merit points that each person earned. In fact, the Blue Dome Domain Lord was also very hesitant about whether he should rely on Su Fong. After all, he was the Domain Lord of the Star Area and controlled countless experts with great power. In the end, he gave up the idea. Fan Ming, do you want to enter the Yuan Tiangong with me? Or do you want to stay in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm? Su Fong asked Fan Ming. Since Su Fong had crippled Luo Changkong, an expert from the Punishment Palace, Fan Ming was also punished and expelled from the Yuan Tiangong. He was originally a disciple of a venerable sovereign, but he was not valued, and no one came forward to help him. He had been staying in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm to help Su Fong guard the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. In fact, his main purpose was to protect Su Fong's family and friends. With Su Fong's current status, it was naturally easy for him to re-enter the Yuan Tiangong. After thinking for a moment, Fan Ming shook his head and said, I'd better stay in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm to protect the Holy Sun's father and family. It won't be too late for me to go in when they enter the Yuan Tiangong. Fan Ming's choice surprised Su Fong. However, on second thought, Fan Ming's choice could be said to be very wise. Su Fong's strength had already surpassed Fan Ming's and entered the Yuan Tiangong. Even if he followed Su Fong as a guard, he would not be of much use. After a long time, he would lose his value. Instead of this, it was better to stay in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm and protect Su Fong's family. In this way, Su Fong would treat him as a trusted aide. In the future, how could Su Fong treat him unfairly? As for those experts who had been poached away, Su Fong did not want any of them who changed their sails and wanted to come back. QL11 at the same time, Su Fong was also in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, wantonly recruiting real experts with a large sum of money. The prerequisite was that they had to accept the seal, otherwise there was no need to talk about it. After dealing with these matters, Su Fong went to the Big Dipper sect alone. Big Dipper sect, I'll make you pay back 10 times what you took from Su Fong. Su Fong came to the God Realm, where the Big Dipper sect was located, a cold look in his eyes. The Big Dipper sect was a vassal force of the Luo clan in the God Realm. They had been poaching Su Fong wantonly under Luo Xingtian's orders. Su Fong did not care about poaching so many experts. These people could be easily poached by the Big Dipper sect, which showed how loyal they were. They were just a group of fence-sitters who forgot righteousness at the sight of profit. However, the Big Dipper sect had bullied the Hunyuan Heaven Realm so unscrupulously. If they did not retaliate, wouldn't any random cat or dog be able to bully them in the future? With the death of the undead king, the crippling of the Hancho Realm Lord, and the various encounters in the Yuan Tiangong, Su Fong had been worried about not having an excuse to take revenge on the Luo clan. Now that an excuse had come knocking on their door, how could Su Fong not use it? The upper echelons of the Big Dipper sect come out. Su Fong took out the Saint Token, and a supreme heavenly Tao divine might enveloped the entire Big Dipper sect. In the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, the Big Dipper sect controlled a large realm. Although it was not in the best position in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, it was not bad. The Big Dipper sect's realm was created by a supreme expert using a divine ability to create 7 stars. The 7 stars of the Big Dipper were arranged in a powerful array formation. Su Fong's saint token not only represented his identity, but could also easily mobilize the natural power of the Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. It was like the ruler of the heavenly Tao, suppressing the various realms. Under Su Fong's divine might, the seven stars trembled, and the powerful barrier formed by the power of the realm collapsed layer by layer. On the seven stars, the earth quaked, and the mountains shook as if doomsday had arrived. "Stop! Su Fong, stop immediately!" Angry roars erupted from the seven stars as experts flew out and headed straight for Su Fong. "Are you ordering me around?" Su Fong's divine light wrapped around the Big Dipper sect's expert. Not only did he not stop, but he also fiercely activated the token again. The seven stars shook again, and clear cracks appeared on the stars. From afar, it looked like cracks, but on the stars, the heavens and the earth were collapsing. Countless cultivation halls had collapsed, and countless gods had died. "Saint Su Fong, please have mercy." The leader was an old man wearing a seven-star Taoist robe. His cultivation level was at the ninth heaven of Tao integration. He had to suppress his anger and cup his fists towards Su Fong. "Oomph." Su Fong put away the token, and the Big Dipper sect dodged a calamity. Su Fong glanced at the old man disdainfully. "You're the leader of the Big Dipper sect?" The old man gritted his teeth. "I'm the Big Dipper sect's sect master." Su Fong nodded. "Very good. Our heaven realm has more than 10,000 traders who have been taken in by the Big Dipper sect. Call them out." The Big Dipper sect master said, "Since when has there been a trader in our Big Dipper sect?" Those experts left the heaven realm voluntarily and joined our Big Dipper sect. Moreover, they were only recruited by the heaven realm, not slaves of the heaven realm. How can you say that they are traitors? They joined the Big Dipper sect, so they are members of the Big Dipper sect. Forgive me for not being able to comply." Su Fong sneered. "They are all members of your Big Dipper sect now?" The old man said decisively, "Yes." "Fine. I don't need you to hand them over." Chapter 2256. Who knew? The next moment, Su Fong changed the topic. When these traders were recruited by the heavenly world, they took divine artifacts and a large amount of resources from the heavenly world. They also obtained a lot of benefits while they were in the heavenly world. It's not too much for me to ask them to return everything, right? Which of the experts poached by the Big Dipper sect did not obtain benefits in the heavenly world? Since they had betrayed the heavenly world, they naturally would not give up the benefits that were already in their mouths. It was only right for Su Fong to ask for it now. Even if this matter was brought to the punishment hall, Su Fong would still be in the right. The Big Dipper sect leader's expression changed slightly. The Big Dipper sect will bear what they owe the heavenly world. Very good. Su Fong waved his hand and sent a jade slip flying to the elder. The Big Dipper sect leader caught the jade slip and crushed it. His expression changed again. So much. It's impossible for them to obtain so many benefits from the heavenly world. The information in the jade slip listed in detail the experts poached by the Big Dipper sect over the years, as well as the divine artifacts and resources they had obtained in the heavenly world. However, the final number was 10 times more than what they had obtained. In total, it was equivalent to the total value of the entire heavenly world. Of course, it's impossible for them to take away so many benefits from the heavenly world, Su Fong said casually. Su Fong smiled coldly and said, "After so many years, there should be some interest. My Su Fong's interest is a little high. It's usually 10 times. The Big Dipper sect leader was furious. "Su Fong, don't go too far." Su Fong's cold eyes swept over the elder. He said domineeringly, Su Fong, am bullying you today. So what? The Big Dipper sect's higher-ups were furious. They were like volcanoes that were about to erupt. "Su Fong, although you are the saint son of Primordia's heavenly palace, you still have no right to be arrogant and despotic within the Primordia's heavenly world. Do not forget that Primordia's heavenly palace still has its own law and punishment hall." The Big Dipper sect leader was furious. He immediately took out a rune talisman and contacted the punishment hall in the heavenly world. In less than half an incense stick's time, the Monarch clan elder from the punishment hall arrived with more than a dozen punishment elders. Now that the palace master has personally stepped forward, let's see if you can still be so arrogant. The leader of the Big Dipper sect was very pleased with himself. As if he had been waiting for his savior, he recounted everything that had happened. The hall master of the punishment hall said to Su Fong, "Holy son, Su Fong, you are only here to ask for interest, not to capture those defectors." Hearing that the hall master's tone was off, the expressions of the Big Dipper sect's upper echelons changed instantly. Su Fong nodded and said, "What's the point of capturing those fence-sitters? Do you want to continue spending money to raise them?" If it were any other faction, the punishment for these defectors would range from crippling their divine residences and divine apertures to flaying their skin. Since the Big Dipper sect took in these traitors, they would have to bear the responsibility as well. The Saint Child of Su Fong only took back the benefits that those experts had taken from the heaven realm. How benevolent! The disciplinary hall master sighed in admiration. Then he shouted at the leader of the Big Dipper sect, "If the Big Dipper sect cannot satisfy the holy son of Su Fong, then I will uphold justice for you." The higher-ups of the Big Dipper sect were shocked and angry. They had not expected the punishment hall to be so biased toward Su Fong. There was also an expert of the Luo clan among the punishment hall elders. The leader of the Big Dipper sect looked at this Luo clan elder, hoping that he would speak up and help. However, this Luo clan expert shook his head and did not say a word. The leader of the Big Dipper sect's heart sank to the bottom. He gritted his teeth and said, "The Big Dipper sect will hand these traitors over to the holy son of Su Fong. Don't let anyone of the Big Dipper sect live." Su Fong snorted and said, "Just now you said that since these experts are from the Big Dipper sect, the Big Dipper sect will take full responsibility for them. Now you're going back on your words. Do you think I am easy to bully?" The hall master of the punishment hall's eyes also became fierce. There was no other way. Under the coercion of Su Fong and the punishment hall, the leader of the Big Dipper sect had no choice but to pay 10 times the compensation according to Su Fong's list. Previously, the Big Dipper sect had poached more than 10,000 experts from the heaven world. The benefits that so many people had obtained from the heaven world, plus 10 times the interest, were equivalent to the value of a large world. The Big Dipper sect was not a top force in the universe. It could be said that they had suffered a great loss by taking out such a huge sum of money at once. They had almost lost all of their assets. "Thank you, Big Dipper sect. There are still many experts in the heaven world. You are welcome to poach them at any time." Su Fong counted the various resources and calculated the compensation. Then he cupped his fists and thanked the leader of the Big Dipper sect. Then he thanked the punishment hall master and left the Big Dipper sect. "Sect master, the next time you poach someone, you have to know who you are poaching first. If you don't succeed, you might destroy your own house." The punishment hall master snorted inexplicably and left with the punishment hall elder. "Su Fong, you are too much a bully." The Big Dipper sect master gritted his teeth. After forming a seal, a Xian Guang bloomed between his palms and condensed into the shadow of a middle-aged man's primordial spirit. "Elder Luo, you have to make a decision for our Big Dipper sect." This middle-aged man was an elder in charge of handling the affairs of the Luo clan. Although he was not a big shot in the Luo clan, he was definitely a big shot. The Big Dipper sect master recounted what had happened just now with some embellishment. Unexpectedly, the middle-aged man scolded him to his face. "Humph, young Master Xingtian was harmed by you incompetent people. It is because of Su Fong that young Master Xingtian was taken away by the punishment hall of the Yuan Tiangong." At this time, the Big Dipper sect still went to provoke Su Fong. "You are courting death. Isn't it just a loss of money? No one died. What's the big deal? I can't do anything about it, and I don't want to." The shadow of the middle-aged man's primordial spirit snorted coldly and disappeared. The higher-ups of the Big Dipper sect were dumbfounded and could not say a word for a long time. There was a long silence. The Big Dipper sect master suddenly grabbed at a star in the Big Dipper sect. An ugly old man with black spots on his face was grabbed by the Big Dipper sect master and appeared in front of him. This old man was Sir God Xianzhu, who had joined the Big Dipper sect along with hundreds of experts. "Sect master, what are you?" Sir God Xianzhu did not know what had happened, and he looked terrified. Go to hell. The leader of the Big Dipper sect vented his anger on Sir God Xianzhu. He struck out a beam of starlight that turned into a star shadow. It was like a falling star. Sir God Xianzhu could not resist at all and was immediately reduced to dust. After extorting the Big Dipper sect, Su Fong did not return to the Big Dipper sect. Instead, he went to the Sanskrit god realm, which was not far from the Big Dipper sect. Among the sovereigns who created the Yuan Tiangong, there were also sovereigns from Sanskrit. Therefore, the Sanskrit of the ancient god realm had the right to live in the Yuan Tiangong. However, most of the Sanskrit of the Brahma heaven god realm did not have the right to live in the Yuan Tiangong. Instead, they placed a creation divine artifact of Sanskrit in the chaos heaven god realm for the main branch of the Sanskrit to live in. A 10,000-meter tall tower floated in the void. The giant tower was simple in design, but it was dazzling in gold and jade. Its aura was vast and ancient, and the patterns of the sun, moon, stars, birds, and beasts on it looked real. The Brahma Saint Tower. What a creation divine artifact. Su Fong looked at the Brahma Saint Tower and recalled how he disguised himself as Fan Yi and sneaked into the tower. The corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. Then, Su Fong activated the purple Qi Dharma spirit and projected the power of the world of Yin and Yang. A shocking divine might that could control heaven and earth instantly enveloped the entire Brahma Saint Tower. QL11 buzz, 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 as expected of a creation divine artifact. Even the purple Qi Dharma spirit could not control it. However, the purple Qi Dharma spirit still shook the Brahma Saint Tower and caused it to tremble. A majestic aura suddenly erupted and shattered the purple Qi Dharma spirit's divine might. It even pushed Su Fong back 100 miles. It is indeed a good treasure. The purple Qi Dharma spirit could not control it at all. However, if I activate the Origin Sacred Mirror, I might be able to absorb it into the mirror's dimension. Su Fong actually had designs on the Brahma Saint Tower. However, it was just a thought. Not to mention that he could not expose the mirror now. Even if he could take out the mirror with his current strength, he would not be able to snatch the Brahma Saint Tower away in front of so many Sanskrit experts. If he really dared to do that, the Sanskrit sovereigns would definitely take action personally. The commotion caused by the Brahma Saint Tower caused a huge commotion in the inner world and alarmed all the Sanskrit experts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A black mass of experts charged towards Su Fong crazily. Sanskrit, you want to kill me? Su Fong took out the saint token, and his voice swept out along with a mighty heavenly might. Many of the Brahmin tribe cultivators stopped in their tracks in shock. They looked at Su Fong, their eyes filled with a terrifying hatred. Right now, Sanskrit was certain that Su Fong was the culprit behind the death of more than 100 Brahma heaven god realm geniuses and the disappearance of the Sanskrit founding ancestors' blood essence. Moreover, Sanskrit's half-creation divine artifact, the heaven-shrouding star banner, had fallen into Su Fong's hands. In fact, some people even suspected that Su Fong was responsible for the death of Sanskrit's genius, Fan Shu. With such a deep hatred, how could the entire Brahma race not hate Su Fong to the core? However, when they saw the token in Su Fong's hand and remembered that the ancient god realm Sanskrit had ordered them not to provoke Su Fong, the experts of the Brahma heaven god realm could only suppress their anger. Su Fong, are you trying to start a war with Sanskrit by attacking the Brahma Saint Tower? A white-haired old man flew out of the crowd and shouted at Su Fong. Stop it, holy son Su Fong. The punishment hall master of the Hunyuan heaven realm appeared in front of Su Fong. The hall master, who was born in the imperial people, was extremely depressed. He had just ruthlessly extorted the Big Dipper sect, and now he was attacking the Brahma Saint Tower. Since he returned to the Hunyuan heaven realm, the Hunyuan heaven realm hadn't had a moment of peace. However, there was nothing he could do about Su Fong. He was born in the imperial people, and Su Fong's holy son status was bestowed by the supreme existence of the imperial people. Not only could he not do anything to Su Fong, he also had to protect Su Fong. Chapter 2257. May I know why Sanskrit owes the saint this time? It was impossible for the punishment hall to not know that Sanskrit had used the heaven suppression pillar to devour the spirit chi in the heavenly world. The punishment hall master knew what Su Fong was talking about. He raised his eyebrows and snorted expressionlessly. The Sanskrit leader said coldly, Su Fong, do you think that you can go against all the celestial races and factions just because you've become the Yuan Tiangong saint? Su Fong retorted bluntly, my Su Fong has never said that we will go against any celestial races or factions. However, if anyone dares to step on my head, no matter which celestial race or faction it is, I will make them pay back tenfold. Then he stared at the Sanskrit leader and said coldly, Sanskrit used the heaven suppression pillar to steal the spirit chi in the heavenly world outside my heavenly world. Sanskrit has to give me an explanation for this. In the crowd, a Sanskrit leader shouted, Su Fong, you want the Sanskrit to return your spirit chi? There's so much spirit chi in the heavenly world. If we give it all to you, I'm afraid the heavenly world won't be able to use it all. The Sanskrit people burst into laughter, followed by a wave of mockery and ridicule. The Sanskrit leader snorted, Su Fong's saint is really domineering. My Sanskrit didn't enter the heavenly world and didn't even take an inch of your land. We also didn't hurt anyone in your heavenly world. We only used the heaven suppression pillar to absorb some spirit chi in the void outside. You actually want to ask for an explanation for my race? Do you think the heavenly world belongs to Su Fong? The heaven suppression pillar was placed in front of the heavenly world's door, but they claimed that they didn't invade the heavenly world at all. Instead, they said that Su Fong was domineering. Sanskrit was arrogant and domineering. Su Fong chuckled. You mean as long as we don't invade any land or hurt anyone, Sanskrit is innocent? The Sanskrit leader snorted. That's right. Su Fong nodded. Let's put this matter aside for now. The punishment hall master heaved a sigh of relief. However, Su then glanced fiercely at the Sanskrit leader. Your Sanskrit attacked my family. How are you going to explain this to me? When Realm Lord and Qingyu arrived, the heavenly world, Qingyu arrived at the heavenly world. Fortunately, Qingyu arrived at the heavenly world in the heavenly world. Qingyu arrived at the heavenly world in the heavenly world in the heavenly Qingyu arrive. Qingyu arrived heavenly heavens. 10,000 years had passed. But how could Su Fong forget such a great enmity? In the past, Su Fong didn't have the strength or influence to deal with the Sanskrit. Now that Su Fong had ascended to the Tao integration stage and possessed the strength to fight against ordinary overgods, he was also the holy disciple of the Yuan Tiangong. Naturally, he wanted to settle old and new grudges. The Sanskrit leader's eyes flashed with hatred at the mention of this matter. Your subordinates destroyed the heavenly world and killed countless of my people. I didn't seek revenge against you, but you're accusing me instead. Su Fong, do you think the Sanskrit is a pushover? A high-ranking Sanskrit member shouted angrily. Our supreme divine weapon, the heaven-shrouding star flag, is still in your hands. Hand it over immediately. The Sanskrit members in the crowd also roared in anger. Su Fong sneered. A group of bandits blocked the road to rob, but a few of them were killed in the end. The bandits said that the other party shouldn't have killed them and should have obediently stretched out their heads and let the bandits rob and kill them. Is this the logic of the Sanskrit? He continued, as for the heaven-shrouding star banner, haha, someone from your Brahma clan tried to kill me and used the heaven-shrouding star banner to isolate the primordial chaos golden ranking. In the end, he was killed by me. So the heaven-shrouding star banner naturally belongs to me. The punishment hall master said in a low voice, Sanskrit did not do well in this matter. Family members should not be implicated. If anyone could act so recklessly, wouldn't the world be in chaos? As for other matters, if Sanskrit continues to dig up old scores, I'm afraid it will be even more disadvantageous for Sanskrit. Seeing that the punishment hall was openly supporting Su Fong, many Sanskrit experts were furious. The Sanskrit patriarch snorted and said, this matter did not happen in the Chaos Heaven realm, so the punishment hall has no right to deal with it. Lore Hall Master, it's best if you don't interfere. The punishment hall master chuckled and did not say anything else. However, his eyes were filled with coldness. Su Fong looked unusually murderous. In that case, I can also go to the Brahma Heaven God realm and kill every Sanskrit member. You dare? The Sanskrit patriarch's expression changed as he shouted angrily. The other Sanskrit members also started to curse. Su Fong said coldly, "Do you think I won't dare just because Sanskrit thinks I won't?" The punishment hall master said majestically, "Sanskrit patriarch, don't forget the G people. The Sanskrit of the Brahma Heaven God realm is not the Sanskrit of the ancient God realm." The Sanskrit patriarch's heart shook. He was very afraid when he thought of the fate of the G people. Moreover, after Su Fong was conferred the title of Holy Son, the Sanskrit of the ancient God realm had issued a decree that forbade them from provoking Su Fong. After thinking for a moment, the punishment hall master said in a deep voice, "The attack on your family was not the intention of the Sanskrit's higher-ups. It was done by a clansman who has a deep hatred for you." Shinja Tianjun. Su Fong raised his eyebrows as a fierce aura surged in his heart. The hatred between him and Shinja Tianjun, from the Yellow Springs Great Emperor to the Primal Chaos Divine Spark to the kidnapping of Xian Lingzi, and his enmity with the Sanskrit, was all because of Shinja Tianjun. The Sanskrit patriarch said slowly, "This is a personal grudge between you and Shinja. His attack on your family and friends has nothing to do with the Sanskrit." Su Fong said, "In that case, hand over Shinja, and we'll call it even." "Fine. The grudge between you and Shinja will be resolved by him," the Sanskrit patriarch said coldly. Then he shouted at the Brahma Saint Tower, "Shinja, come out." An incense stick later, a god flew out of the Brahma Saint Tower and slowly flew toward them. Su Fong scanned this person with his perfect vision and couldn't help but be shocked. This person looked old with a head of messy white hair. He looked to be in his 60s or 70s. His aura was weak and his eyes were cloudy. He looked to be in a delirious state. However, Su Fong would never forget this person's aura of destiny. Shinja Tianjun. I didn't expect Shinja Tianjun to become like this. The Sanskrit members moved aside as Shinja Tianjun arrived in front of the Sanskrit patriarch. He slowly cupped his fists toward the Sanskrit patriarch as if he was half dead. The Sanskrit patriarch said, "Shinja, do you still recognize Su Fong?" Su Fong. Blood-red light suddenly shot out from Shinja's turbid eyes. A sharp and violent killing intent instantly surged into the sky. He was like an injured primordial beast. "Su Fong, I will kill you." Shinja let out an inhuman roar and was about to attack Su Fong, but the Sanskrit patriarch stopped him. Su Fong couldn't help but sigh in his heart. I didn't think that the high and mighty Shinja Tianjun, who once controlled the heavenly power of a great world, would end up like this. The Sanskrit patriarch said darkly, "Su Fong, Shinja was a peerless expert of our race, but you single-handedly turned him into this state. Hundreds of Sanskrit geniuses and countless clansmen have died because of you. You and the Sanskrit of the Brahma Heaven God realm have a deep grudge. Kill Su Fong. Avenge our clansmen." Many Sanskrit clansmen roared angrily when they recalled what had happened in the Brahma Saint Tower. The anger of countless people gathered together was enough to burn the heavens and destroy the earth. Even now, no one in the Sanskrit understood how Su Fong had snuck into the Brahma Saint Tower. However, the strange changes in the Brahma Sacred Pond, the deaths of hundreds of Sanskrit geniuses, the failure of the plan to revive the progenitor, and the disappearance of the progenitor's blood essence. Then, the chaos in the Brahma Saint Tower and the deaths of countless Sanskrit clansmen had pinned the blame on Su Fong. As for the most suspicious person, Holy Maiden Luo, the Brahmin clan did not dare to question her. Holy Maiden Luo's background was too great, so great that even the Emperor Realm Masters of the Brahmin clan had to be wary of her. After that, Shinja Tianjun's avatar was killed, and the heaven-shrouding star banner fell on Su Fong. During the battle for the title of Godchild of the Blue Dome Star region, not only did Sanskrit lose miserably to Su Fong, Shintanjun was also framed by Su Fong. Sanskrit's experts searched his soul and damaged his primordial spirit. Not only was his strength greatly reduced, he was often in a state of confusion. In the eyes of the Sanskrit clansmen, this debt of blood was enough to kill Su Fong 100 times over. Sanskrit's patriarch said solemnly, "Shinja, I want you to settle the grudge between you and Su Fong. Do you dare?" "Kill." Shinja Tianjun let out a beast-like roar. His eyes were spitting fire, and his aura was growing more and more violent. "Very good." Sanskrit's patriarch nodded and then looked at Su Fong. "Su Fong, the personal grudge between you and Shinja will be settled in a life-and-death battle today. Do you dare?" Su Fong smiled casually. "I'm just afraid that after I kill him, Sanskrit will continue to harass me." "No matter the outcome, Sanskrit will let bygones be bygones," said Sanskrit's patriarch decisively. Su Fong said, "You've placed your hopes on a crazy person. You must be confident that you'll win. However, I'll still do as you wish." Sanskrit's patriarch nodded, and his eyes were filled with ruthlessness and coldness. He then shouted coldly at Shinja Tianjun, "Open your mouth." Shinja Tianjun was stunned and instinctively opened his mouth. Sanskrit's patriarch took out a black pill from his palm and directly threw it into Shinja Tianjun's mouth. In that instant, Shinja Tianjun's aura rose steadily, and he quickly recovered to his previous cultivation base, reaching the astonishing height of the fifth heaven of the Tao integration stage. Ka. Shinja Tianjun's divine body let out a series of low explosive sounds, and then it rapidly expanded. His aura also continued to soar. After 5 or 6 breaths, Shinja Tianjun's terrifying strength was equivalent to the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. The Punishment Hall master's expression changed instantly. "Su Fong, be careful. It's the 100 breaths, everlasting pill. 100 breaths, everlasting pill." Chapter 2258. 100 breaths, everlasting pill. This pill was of the king grade and was extremely rare. However, this pill was even more famous than the Fortune Saint pill. After swallowing the 100 breaths, everlasting pill, a true god's cultivation would rapidly increase to the limit of his realm. For example, a first heaven hierarch realm true god would be able to reach the peak of the 9th heaven hierarch realm after consuming the 100 breaths everlasting pill. However, this pill would overdraft a true god's life and deplete their future potential. Therefore, the side effects were very obvious. Basically, after consuming the 100 breaths everlasting pill, the true god's divine palace, Yang's spirit and divine body would dry up and become a cripple or die. Moreover, the 100 breaths everlasting pill could only be maintained for 100 breaths of time, hence the name. Because refining the 100 breaths everlasting pill required the blood essence of a demon god expert, it was also known as the Black Demon Pill. There were very few of them, and they were filled with evil. Ordinary true gods wouldn't consume this pill unless they were in a life and death situation. In order to deal with Su Fong, the leader of the Brahma tribe had actually made Lord of Heaven Shinja swallow the 100 breaths everlasting elixir. He was truly ruthless. He could even be so ruthless to his own tribesmen. He used the lives of the tribesmen in exchange for the strength of 100 breaths to deal with Su Fong. At this moment, there were more than 10 million Sanskrit people gathered outside the Buddhist Saint Tower. After witnessing Shinja Tianjun consume the 100 breaths everlasting pill, their faces were filled with grief and indignation. Their eyes were filled with hatred as they fell on Su Fong. Shinja Tianjun was a famous expert in Sanskrit. Regardless of the result, he wouldn't be able to escape death in today's battle with Su Fong. Naturally, many Sanskrit people felt sorry for the death of their own kind. However, no one thought about why today's scene would happen. Instead, all their hatred was transferred to Su Fong. "Kill Su Fong. QL11 kill. Kill. Kill." The Sanskrit people roared. Their voices shook the sky and the void trembled. Even the Buddhist Saint Tower released a strong, killing intent. Su Fong looked at the head of the punishment hall and said, "My lord, There are so many Sanskrit people who are openly calling for the death of the Yuan Tiangong Holy Sun. Are they planning to start a rebellion? Without waiting for the Hall Master to speak, the Sanskrit patriarch said coldly, Hall Master, this is a personal grudge between Shunja and Su Fong. Could it be that the Hall of Punishment is biased towards him? The disciplinary Hall Master harumphed, but did not say anything. A domineering smile appeared on Su Fong's face. You're merely at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. Do you really think you could defeat me, Su Fong? Xinjia, come. It's time to settle the grudge between us. Su Fong. Xinjia Tianjun charged towards Su Fong with a strong, baleful aura. Su Fong's body swayed, and he appeared in the air above the Buddhist Saint Tower. Xinjia, kill him. Our tribe will do everything in our power to nurture your descendant. The Sanskrit patriarch transmitted his voice to Xinjia. A cold light flashed in his eyes. With the help of the 100 breaths, everlasting pill, Xinjia Tianjuan's power had reached the Tao integration pinnacle stage. He had merged with the heavenly Tao, and he had become the sole ruler of heaven and earth. Furthermore, he had also merged with a portion of the Buddhist Saint Tower's power. With his current power, even a cultivator at the Tao integration pinnacle stage would have to avoid him. Xinjia Tianjun charged towards Su Fong. He quickly made a series of hand seals, and tens of thousands of golden rays burst forth from his divine body. He drew upon the power of the heavenly Tao and formed a world. Shadows of the earth, mountains, rivers, sky, sun, moon, stars, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning flashed. They quickly became real and formed a real world that enveloped Su Fong. The Punishment Hall Master's eyes flickered, and he transmitted his voice to Su Fong. Holy disciple Su Fong, be careful. You only need to stall for 100 breaths of time. Su Fong had passed the 68th level of the 10,000 spell tower, which proved that he had the power to defeat ordinary Lord-level cultivators. However, that was only a trial and not a battle of life and death. Thus, the Punishment Hall Master didn't think that Su Fong had the power to defeat Xinjia Tianjun. Even if he won, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. Besides, Su Fong hadn't been in the 10,000 spell tower for long, and he hadn't recovered from the consumption in the tower. It was impossible for him to be Xinjia Tianjun's match. Of course, the Punishment Hall Master couldn't watch Su Fong die in front of him, even if he was seriously injured. Others might not know, but he knew very well about Su Fong's position in the hearts of the imperial people. If he was injured by Xinjia Tianjun, the imperial people would never let him off easily. Therefore, he hurriedly reminded Su Fong to stall for time as much as possible. After the effects of the 100 breaths, everlasting elixir wore off, Xinjia could only wait for death. Who knew? After Su Fong made the hand seals, his physical body collapsed layer by layer, and he instantly transformed into the heaven underworld state. Then, a physical body condensed from the blood, and the power of the yin-yang world was projected from his body. It cooperated with the heaven underworld and turned into a real and terrifying world with a bloody dome covering the sky and a sea of blood covering the earth. Su Fong's world instantly merged with the real world and collided violently with Xinjia Tianjuan's world. The mountains, rivers, sun, moon, and stars in Xinjia Tianjuan's world shattered layer by layer in the collision and were swallowed by the heaven underworld. Su Fong's world was also rapidly being worn down. The bloody dome shattered, and the sea of blood shook. Blood-shadowed doppelganger, dark blood claw. Blood-shadowed doppelganger floated out of the blood and pounced on Xinjia Tianjun. A huge bloody palm also condensed from the bloody dome and grabbed at Xinjia Tianjun. The blood roared and spiraled, releasing waves of devouring power, and swept toward Xinjia Tianjun like a tsunami. A series of earth-shattering collisions triggered a series of huge explosions. Xinjia Tianjuan's blood and qi were rapidly depleting, and his strength was also rapidly weakening. He fell from the peak of the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. After all, he had relied on pills and burned his life force to attain his current cultivation level. In addition, he was already a little delirious. After swallowing the 100 breaths everlasting pill, his mind was in a state of chaos. The heaven underworld had the supreme ability to devour life force, bloodlines, and even souls. Shinja Tianjuan's blood and qi were constantly depleting, and his primordial spirit and consciousness were on the verge of collapse. His strength was like a castle built on sand. As his life force and primordial spirit and consciousness were devoured, his foundation was no longer there, and his cultivation level was also collapsing. Shinja, although you don't remember the great emperor of Yellow Spring whom you killed in the outside world, I'll still avenge him today. I'll kill you with his divine weapon and divine ability. Su Fang's physical body was domineering in the blood, and the power of the world in his body suddenly erupted. If it weren't for the fact that the heavenly Tao form needed a long time to recover from the consumption during the 10,000 spell pagoda, and that Su Fang wanted to avenge the great emperor of Yellow Spring, killing Shinja Tianjun wouldn't have been so troublesome. Under the crushing power of the heavenly Tao, Shinja Tianjuan's world suddenly shattered. It turned from reality to nothingness, and then disappeared. The blood surged out like raging waves beating the shore. Then, Su Fang activated the underworld reincarnation sword, and the power of reincarnation erupted. It triggered a 1,000 feet tall wave of the blood sea and swallowed Shinja Tianjun. Shinja Tianjun let out a series of angry roars. In the end, the underworld reincarnation sword pierced through his head. His corpse bobbed up and down in the blood sea. Soon, it was corroded layer by layer and turned into a part of the blood sea. Su Fang put the underworld reincarnation sword back into his body. The original spirit of the underworld reincarnation sword transmitted a thought. Master, if the old master knew that you used his underworld blood sea to avenge him, he would definitely be very gratified. Shinja Tianjun died in the underworld blood sea. This is also the will of the heavens. Su Fang quickly reformed the blood sea and blood dome. As for Shinja Tianjun, who had not been completely devoured, he threw him to Gue. From the beginning of the battle between Shinja Tianjun and Su Fang to Su Fang killing him, only about 20 breaths of time had passed. Shinja Tianjun was devoured alive under the gaze of countless Sanskrit people outside the Buddhist Saint Tower. After a brief silence, roars of anger immediately erupted. Kill Su Fang and avenge Shinja. Hundreds of Sanskrit experts rushed out. Almost all of the Sanskrit people were restless. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The master of the punishment hall shot out black Xianguang, which quickly turned into black iron chains and locked the dozen or so Sanskrit people at the front. The black iron chains emitted white flames and burned the dozen or so Sanskrit people to ashes in an instant. The other Sanskrit people were shocked by the master of the punishment hall and immediately quieted down. The master of the punishment hall said imposingly, "Sanskrit, do you want to be driven out of the Hunyuan heaven realm?" The Sanskrit patriarch waved his hand to stop the angry Sanskrit people. He gritted his teeth and said to Su Fang, "Su Fang, are you satisfied now?" Su Fang replied sheepishly, "If the Sanskrit people can return the spiritual energy they plundered from the Hunyuan heaven realm, then I'll be satisfied." The Sanskrit patriarch burst into laughter. "Su Fang, how dare you barge into Sanskrit territory, kill our Sanskrit experts, and even try to extort money from the Sanskrit people?" He then pointed at the Brahma holy tower behind him and chuckled coldly. "If you want your spiritual energy back, go get it yourself." The Brahma holy tower was a creation divine tool. It was a treasure that had been nurtured from the heavens. Not only was it rich in spiritual energy, but it also contained the power of creation. Even a sovereign would find it difficult to move such a divine tool. Su Fang was only at the third heavenly stage of the Tao integration stage, so how could he do anything to the Brahma holy tower? Unexpectedly, Su Fang cupped his fists and smiled. "Thank you, Patriarch. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Please be my witness, Lord Temple Master. This is something that the Sanskrit Patriarch personally agreed to." The Hall Master of the Punishment Hall was startled and confused. He did not know what Su Fang was up to. The Sanskrit patriarch sneered. Suddenly, Su Fang's body suddenly erupted with a mysterious purple chi, and a kind of heaven-defying and heaven-seizing power appeared within him. Boom! An invisible hand enveloped the Buddhist Saint Tower before grabbing at it viciously. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Buddhist sacred tower trembled violently. The Brahmin tribe leader could feel an instinctive fear from the consciousness that it was emitting. Wisps of chi of creation and fortune were forcibly extracted from the Buddhist sacred tower by the Su Fang before being devoured by the purple chi dharma spirit. This lasted for a dozen or so breaths of time before the Buddhist sacred tower erupted with a tremor that sent Su Fang flying. When they looked at the Brahma's sacred tower again, they saw that the profound light it was emitting had dimmed significantly. Furthermore, every Brahma race being could sense that something extremely important had been snatched away from them. Fortune. Sanskrit, I won't thank you. If I lack spiritual energy in the future, I can go to the heaven realm to plunder it. I'll make a trip to the Buddhist sacred tower then. Chapter 2259. News of the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit spread throughout the Hunyuan heaven in just a few days. Some people believed that the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit had brought this upon themselves. One had tried to poach Su Fang, while the other had tried to kill Su Fang's family. These were acts that any faction would find shameful, so Su Fang's counterattack was not excessive at all. However, others believed that Su Fang was a petty person who relied on the imperial people's respect and his status as the Yuan Tiangongs saint to bully others. Su Fang naturally didn't care about other people's opinions. After returning to the square heaven world, he temporarily stayed behind. Firstly, he wanted to accompany his father, Su Yaotian, Xian Tian, and other family members and friends. Secondly, he wanted to personally oversee the square heaven world to prevent the Brahma race and Luo race from taking revenge. Xian Xin also stayed in the sky realm, not only to accompany her grandfather, Xian Tian, but also to reunite with Su Fang. At the same time, Su Fang did not stop cultivating, mainly to recover from the battle with Xinjia Tianjun and to restore his heavenly Tao avatar. After devouring a portion of the Kane creation chi and providence from the Buddhist sacred tower, Su Fang was delighted to discover that the purple cloud Dharma spirit had undergone significant changes. Not only had every corner of his divine body fused with the purple cloud Dharma spirit, but the heaven and earth Tao palace was also filled with mysterious purple cloud. If he transformed it into an internal world, he could clearly sense the ethereal heavenly Tao fate. The purple cloud Dharma spirit origin spirit, Az, had become a corporeal existence. However, the purple cloud Dharma spirit was not considered to have undergone a metamorphosis. Su Fang decided to stay in the artifact hall for a period of time after returning to the Yuan Tiangong and try to absorb the great pregnant purple cloud. In fact, what Su Fang was most concerned about was the heavenly fire divine Lord's purple cloud Dharma spirit. If he could fuse with it, Su Fang's purple cloud Dharma spirit would definitely undergo an earth-shattering transformation. In addition, Su Fang began to nurture alchemists to refine the yin-yang true polarity elixir. The yin-yang true pole pill was extremely useful for the cultivation of ordinary deities. Su Fang wanted to use this pill to develop the Fang heaven realm. The yin-yang true extreme pill's materials were very ordinary, and it was relatively easy to refine. Furthermore, it was unique, and there was no need to fear others imitating it. About 100 years passed. The assassin organization, Solus, under the control of the second primordial spirit, infiltrated the Big Dipper sect, Sanskrit, and other forces and sent back all kinds of useful information. QL11 after the Su Fang took revenge on the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit. Although they didn't dare to do so openly, they were constantly making small moves in the dark. The Big Dipper sect was a vassal force of the Luo clan, and Sanskrit was backed by the Sanskrit of the ancient god world. Therefore, the Big Dipper sect had deep connections with the other great forces of the Hunyuan heaven. Because of their secret activities, many major factions in the Hunyuan heaven realm were extremely disgusted with the Su Fang. Although they didn't dare to take any drastic actions, they still isolated the Su Fong Heaven Realm. The Hunyuan Heaven Realm was a newly created star domain. If the Su Fong Heaven Realm was isolated, it would be very difficult for it to gain a foothold in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm in the future. Of course, the Big Dipper sect and Sanskrit won't give up. In the future, they will definitely not dare to openly target the Su Fong Heaven Realm. They will definitely keep making small moves to suppress and weaken the Su Fong Heaven Realm strength. I can't always be in charge of the Su Fong Heaven Realm, and I can't develop the Su Fong Heaven Realm alone. Su Fong began to make long-term plans for the Su Fong Heaven Realm. However, the major factions in the universe had extremely deep foundations, unlike the hastily established forces like the Su Fong Heaven Realm. It wasn't so easy to improve the relationship with them. 200 years passed. On this day, an old man wearing a Taoist robe with a blue and white heavenly mark came out of the Yuan Tiangong and went straight to the Su Fong Heaven Realm. He was the master of the New Pill Tower, the alchemy master from the Duanmu Divine Clan. Su Fong asked someone to serve him spirit tea, then asked in surprise, "Master Duanmu, why are you here personally?" The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan snorted. "You are the saint of the Yuan Tiangong, above the Heaven Realm geniuses. Your status is even more powerful than overgods. How can I not come here personally?" Because of Duanmu Renjia, Su Fong and the Duanmu Divine Clan had almost become enemies. Fortunately, the Duanmu Divine Clan resolved the conflict in time and even sent Duanmu Renjia into the ancient demon abyss to train as a punishment to appease Su Fong's anger. The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan looked displeased, but he didn't have any hostility. Su Fong said very politely, "Master Duanmu, if you have any instructions, you can just use your token to pass it on. I will naturally pay you a visit. How can I let you come here personally?" The old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan nodded in satisfaction. During the Pill Tower selection ceremony, you refined the Heaven's Response Pill, which is useful for the cultivation of sovereigns, but it was snatched away by only Tao sovereigns. Many overgods have come to the Pill Tower to ask when the Heaven's Response Pill will be sold. I have no choice but to come and ask you if you can still refine the Heaven's Response Pill. During the Pill Tower selection ceremony, Su Fong had refined the Heaven's Response Pill in front of everyone. Not only was it a spirit accumulation pill, but it had also attracted a lightning tribulation. Even only Tao sovereigns had personally taken action, disregarding their status, to snatch the Heaven's Response Pill. The fame of the Heaven's Response Pill had already spread among the overgods. Who wouldn't want it? Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong would ask Su Fong about the Heaven's Response Pill every once in a while. However, refining the Heaven's Response Pill required the fruit of the Enlightenment Bodhi wood. Even if they had points, they couldn't buy it, so Su Fong couldn't do anything about it. Su Fong originally planned to wait until he entered Primordius Heavenly Palace before going to the Pill Tower to visit the old man from the Duanmu Divine Clan and see if he could buy the fruit of the true Enlightenment Bodhi wood. He never imagined that the old man would personally visit him. After thinking for a while, Su Fong replied, "If I have the fruit of the Enlightenment Bodhi wood, it shouldn't be difficult to successfully refine the Heaven's Response Pill. However, it will only be the ordinary kind. The possibility of refining the Spirit Accumulation Pill or Lightning Tribulation Divine Pill is not very high." The Duanmu Divine Clan's elders said calmly, "The Duanmu Divine Clan is willing to pay a high price to buy the Heaven's Response Pill formula from you. Saint, please name your price." Su Fong smiled sheepishly. "Master Duanmu, you should know that pill formulas are the lifeblood of alchemists. How can I sell them so easily? I still need to rely on the Heaven's Response Pill to earn merit points. I won't consider selling the pill formula." The Duanmu Divine Clan's elder stared at Su Fong. "I knew you weren't that easy to fool. You won't sell the pill formula so easily. Fine, I'll get straight to the point. The Duanmu Divine Clan intends to cooperate with you in refining pills. The Duanmu Divine Clan will provide the ingredients to refine the Heaven's Response Pill, and you will be in charge of refining the pill. What do you think? How do we split the profits?" The Duanmu Divine Clan will provide 10 sets of ingredients. The saint only needs to give the Duanmu Divine Clan 3 Heaven's Response pills. The Duanmu Divine Clan will not care about the rest. The Duanmu Divine Clan's conditions were not harsh. It was impossible to refine pills every time. A lot of ingredients would definitely be used up. A typical alchemist success rate was around 50% to 60%. A master alchemist success rate was 1 to 2 times higher. In other words, Su Fong's success rate was 40% higher. He would be able to make a profit. It's a deal. Su Fong agreed readily. The Duanmu Divine Clan's elder was a top-notch alchemist. In his opinion, with Su Fong's current alchemy skills, his success rate was at most 50%. Moreover, the Heaven's Response pill was an ancient pill that was very difficult to refine. A 40% success rate was already quite good. The Duanmu Divine Clan's conditions were definitely a good deal. Little did he know that Su Fong's success in refining the Heaven's Response pill had nothing to do with his alchemy skills. It was mainly Su Fong's understanding of the heavenly Tao, his dragon-subduing true body, and the power of the yin-yang world. Therefore, Su Fong's success rate had reached a shocking 80%. Su Fong was confident that he had at least a 60% success rate in refining the Heaven's Response pill. If he refined more pills, his success rate would definitely increase by another level. Moreover, the Duanmu Divine Clan's elder would never have imagined that not only could Su Fong refine the Heaven's Response pill, but he could also refine the Spirit Accumulation pill and the Thunder Tribulation Divine pill. It was just that the success rate was not high. Su Fong would definitely make a profit. Moreover, cooperating with the Duanmu Divine Clan would definitely be of great help to Su Fong's development in the future. After all, the Duanmu Divine Clan was an ancient divine clan in the ancient divine world, and they were experts in alchemy. After the two sides agreed, the Duanmu Divine Clan's elder gave Su Fong enough materials to refine 1,000 Heaven's Response pills. Among them were the fruits of the Enlightenment Bodhi tree. In addition, the Duanmu Divine Clan's elder gave Su Fong a medicinal cauldron of peak supreme grade quality. With Su Fong's current strength, he could easily control a royal grade divine artifact. He could even control a half-creation divine artifact. However, refining pills was an extremely long process that consumed one's primordial spirit, dermic powers, and primordial spirit. The higher the quality of the cauldron, the better. Su Fong's peak supreme grade cauldron was suitable for refining pills. After sending off the Duanmu Divine Clan's elder, Su Fong began to refine the Heaven's Response pills. At the same time, he instructed his alchemists to refine the yin-yang true pole elixir. In the beginning, as Su Fong had expected, he could only succeed 6 or 7 times out of every 10 sets of materials. As the number of times he refined pills increased, Su Fong's success rate gradually increased and finally stabilized at 70%. This meant that 3 out of 10 sets of materials were wasted. The Duanmu Divine Clan obtained 3 pills, and Su Fong obtained 4 Heaven's Response pills alone. About 300 years later, Su Fong spent 3,000 years in the chronoformation that he had created. Finally, all the materials for 1,000 sets of Heaven's Response pills were used up. In total, Su Fong had refined more than 600 pills out of 1,000 sets of materials. More than 300 pills went to Su Fong. 300 Heaven's Response pills was not a lot, but their value was so high that Su Fong could not estimate it. What surprised Su Fong even more was that 7 of the Heaven's Response pills were Spirit Accumulation pills, and their efficacy was more than 10 times that of ordinary Heaven's Response pills. There is also a Spirit Accumulation pill that attracted a Thunder Tribulation, just like in the Pill Pagoda selection pageant. A Heaven's Response pill that had been baptized by the Thunder Tribulation had a certain effect on venerable sovereigns. Its value was thousands or even tens of thousands of times that of ordinary Heaven's Response pills. Su Fong already had a plan for how to deal with these pills. He took out a rune talisman and contacted Sovereign Sang Xiao. Chapter 2260. Su Fong could hear the exhaustion in Emperor Sang Xiao's voice. He couldn't help but be shocked. Emperor Sang Xiao, what happened? Nothing. I just reached a bottleneck in my cultivation. Let's talk about your problem. Since you took the initiative to look for me, it must be a big trouble. Emperor Sangqiu didn't say much. A powerful existence like him no longer sought to be at the top of the world, but to transcend heaven and earth. This wasn't something Su Fong could understand at the moment. I've been refining pills recently. Before Su Fong could finish speaking, Sovereign Master Sangqiu's displeased voice came from the rune talisman. Although alchemy is of some use to your cultivation, it is ultimately only auxiliary. Don't waste too much energy on it. Yes, Su Fong was very depressed. He could only endure it while trembling. Then he said, I've refined a heaven pill. It's a spirit accumulation pill, and it's also gone through a lightning tribulation. Huh? The voice from the rune talisman suddenly became anxious. Is it the pill you refined at the Pill Pagoda's selection ceremony? The pill that you Dao made first? Yes, the quality is slightly better than the one I refined last time. I plan to give it to Emperor Sangqiu. Emperor Sangqiu can use it to reward your subordinates. Su Fong was halfway through his words. Suddenly, an aura came from the void and quickly condensed into Emperor Sangqiu's image. Then, it turned into a lifelike Emperor Sangqiu. Unexpectedly, Sangqiu left Yuan Tiangong and came to the Fong Tian world. Su Fong stammered, Emperor Sangqiu? Emperor Sangqiu said impatiently, Where's the pill? Let me see it. Su Fong quickly took out the heaven pill that was sealed in the jade bottle. Emperor Sangqiu instantly took it into his hand. He took out the heaven pill from the jade bottle. Emperor Sangqiu's divine light swept over the pill. After carefully examining it, his deep eyes flashed with a trace of light. Then he looked at Su Fong with bright eyes. This pill is very useful to me. It will increase my chances of breaking through the bottleneck. Tell me, what do you want? Su Fong cupped his fists and said, Senior Di Zun has always taken good care of this disciple. This disciple comes from a humble background and doesn't have any treasures to offer Senior Di Zun. This heaven-responding pill is just a small token of my appreciation. Su Fong, you're very good. This emperor really didn't misjudge you. Emperor Sangqiu looked at Su Fong approvingly, nodded, and then disappeared into nothingness. After that, Su Fong left the square heaven world and brought Qin Qiong Domain Lord and Fan Ming to visit the various divine realms and forces in the Hunyuan heaven world. He hoped to get closer to them and prevent the square heaven world from being isolated in the future. Due to the special status of the Su Fong, the leaders of the major forces were very polite on the surface, but in fact, they kept people at a distance. The Su Fong could not find a good way to resolve this situation. After all, the foundation of the heaven realm was still shallow. They could only take things slowly. On this day, Su Fong came to the punishment hall. The hall master of the punishment hall, the old man from the imperial people, was now afraid of Su Fong. As long as Su Fong appeared, nothing good would happen. However, Su Fong's identity was extraordinary, so he had to meet him. Seeing Su Fong, the hall master smiled bitterly and said, Su Fong's holy son, don't tell me you want the punishment hall to help you collect your debts again. If I owe a debt in the future, I will naturally trouble you, hall master. Su Fong chuckled. The hall master of the punishment hall felt his head swell. Su Fong continued, I have caused a lot of trouble for the punishment hall. In the future, I hope you will take care of the square heaven world. I have nothing to repay you with, but I will give you a pill to express my appreciation. A pill? The hall master of the punishment hall shook his head and smiled. He was an overgod expert. What use could a pill have? This Yuan Tiangong's holy son was really generous. QL11 then, the hall master of the punishment hall suddenly thought of something. His expression changed slightly. Could it be the heaven-responding pill? Su Fong nodded. Yes, it is the heaven-responding pill. He took out a jade bottle, which was supported by a xianguang, and slowly flew to the hall master of the punishment hall. The hall master grabbed the jade bottle and carefully took out a dark golden pill from the bottle. Whoosh! As soon as the pill appeared, it was about to fly away. Spirit-gathering pill. The hall master of the punishment hall was shocked and stunned. He waved his hand and released a wave of divine power to shackle the pill. Spirit-gathering pill it really is a spirit-gathering pill. The hall master carefully sensed the pill, and his eyes shone brightly. Then he looked at Su Fong and said in disbelief, "Su Fong's holy son, you really want to give this spirit-gathering heaven-responding pill to me?" After receiving Su Fong's confirmation, the hall master of the punishment hall hurriedly put away the pill. He was very happy. The heaven-responding pill was not a pill that deities needed for their cultivation like the divine essence or the creation saint pill. It did not consume much, but it had an effect that other pills could not compare to for lords to break through bottlenecks and comprehend the way of heaven. The hall master of the punishment hall was born in the imperial people, so he naturally did not lack pills and resources. However, once he encountered a bottleneck in his cultivation, it was not something that ordinary pills could solve. This spirit-gathering heaven-responding pill would have an unexpected effect on his cultivation. It would even affect his future cultivation achievements. How could he not be happy? Then, the hall master of the punishment hall made a promise to Su Fong. "Su Fong's holy son is too polite. You are a peerless genius that the supreme existence of my clan values. I am born in the imperial people. You and I are family. Haha, from now on, the matters of the heaven realm will be my matters." "Thank you, hall master." Su Fong had achieved his goal. He got up and was about to leave. The hall master of the punishment hall suddenly said, "Su Fong's holy son, has there been any news from the Luo clan recently?" "The Luo clan?" Su Fong was startled. It was obvious that the hall master of the punishment hall had received some news and had specially come to remind Su Fong. After the so-called reconciliation between the Luo clan and Su Fong failed, the venerable Emperor Shao Wanting, who was in charge of punishments in the Yuan Tiangong, had personally issued an order to capture Luo Xingtian. What awaited him was a severe punishment in the Yuan Tiangong. However, the Luo clan would definitely not let this matter go. No one knew what kind of revenge they would take. Although the hall master of the punishment hall did not say it clearly, Su Fong became alert. After leaving the punishment hall, Su Fong contacted Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong. When they learned that Su Fong had refined the heaven-responding pill, they immediately rushed to the heaven realm. Su Fong gave each of them 2 spirit-containing heaven-responding pills. The 10 ordinary heaven-responding pills were, of course, free. This made Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong very happy. Su Fong had no use for the remaining heaven-responding pills. The remaining 2 spirit-containing heaven-responding pills were all given to Xuanqin. In addition, he also gave her 100 ordinary heaven-responding pills. Xuanqin was trying to break through to the path integration stage. The heaven-responding pills were naturally very useful for her. As for the heaven-responding pills that had been baptized by the Thunder Tribulation, it was a bit of a waste for her. Therefore, he gave them to Venerable Emperor Sangxiu. Xuanqin naturally had no use for the 100 ordinary heaven-responding pills. Su Fong gave them to her so that she could use them to win the hearts of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan. In addition, he gave Fan Ming, the Blue Dome ruler, Zhu Yanjun, Qi Shao Shunjun, and the Star Billow Realm ruler 2 ordinary heaven-responding pills each. After that, Su Fong contacted the Duanmu Divine Clan and gave them 300 heaven-responding pills as promised. The Duanmu Divine Clan tested the heaven-responding pills and discovered that the quality of the heaven-responding pills refined by Su Fong was much higher than expected. Only then was he completely relieved and continued to work with Su Fong. Due to the limitations of the materials, the heaven-responding pills could not be refined in large quantities like other pills. They could easily be refined in the tens of thousands or even millions. The Duanmu Divine Clan could only provide 1,000 sets of materials to refine the heaven-responding pills each time and give them to Su Fong so that he could continue to refine the heaven-responding pills. Su Fong used another 100 years to refine a batch of heaven-responding pills. In addition, he also trained more than 10 alchemists who could refine middle-grade yin-yang true pole pills. During this time, a piece of news shocked the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. It also shocked the people in Yuan Tiangong. The Hunyuan Heaven Realm's punishment hall master, an old man from the imperial people, had gone into seclusion for 100 years and broken through the bottleneck that had shackled him for 50 million years. He had successfully broken through to middle-rank Lord level. At the Lord level, every small step forward was extremely difficult. If one was unfortunate enough to encounter a bottleneck, one's cultivation journey would come to a halt. Unless one encountered a fortuitous encounter, it would be very difficult to break through. The Punishment Hall Master, who was from the Imperial people, had already given up on trying to break through to a higher level. Unexpectedly, he had succeeded in breaking through in just 100 years. Of course, he had spent more than 100 years in the formation created by the passage of time divine ability. The breakthrough of a Lord-level powerhouse was not enough to cause an uproar. What shocked many powerhouses was that the Punishment Hall Master himself said that the reason he could break through the bottleneck was because of Su Feng's heaven-responding pills. In a short time, the heaven-responding pills' reputation skyrocketed. Which of the gods above the Path Integration realm did not scramble for them? The heaven-responding pills that the Duanmu Divine Clan had put up for sale in the Alpha Hall were priced at 10,000 merit points each. In just an hour, they were all sold out. The Duanmu Divine Clan immediately decided not to sell the heaven-responding pills anymore. Instead, they would put them up for auction in the Alpha Hall. After several auctions, the heaven-responding pills were sold for sky-high prices. The highest auction record was 80,000 merit points for a single heaven-responding pill, which was more expensive than some creation spiritual items. Su Feng was busy making arrangements for the Square Heaven Realm and was unaware of what had happened in the Alpha Hall. After everything was arranged, Su Feng and Xuanqin prepared to return to Yuan Tiangong. Unexpectedly, more than a dozen powerhouses came to pay them a visit on this day. These powerhouses were all big shots from various forces in the Square Heaven Realm. The lowest cultivation base was at the Path Integration Realm. There was also a Lord-level powerhouse who was an itinerant cultivator. Even the big-headed powerhouse from the Ying clan came to the Square Heaven Realm in person. He was a peerless powerhouse who was only one step away from becoming a venerable sovereign. Su Feng had visited the forces where these powerhouses were from before. However, these powerhouses were neither friendly nor cold. Some of them did not even show up and let other higher-ups deal with Su Feng. Su Feng did not expect them to take the initiative to pay him a visit. Moreover, they were all extremely polite. This surprised and stunned him.